Okay, already it's 7:01. I'm calling the city council meeting to order, and this notice is posted and pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice is hereby given that the city council of Nassau Bay, Texas will conduct a regular meeting on October 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m. here in council chambers, City Hall, 1800 Space Park Drive, Suite 200, Nassau Bay, Texas. Call to order. Roll call. Looks like all council members are here and accounted for. And I'd like to move us to the invocation, which will be given by Jason Gannon, the associate pastor at the Nassau Bay Baptist Church. Jason, pastor, thank you.
Would you all please bow with me as we begin the meeting here tonight? Well, Heavenly Father, we thank you for your continual love and your care for your creation. We thank you for this beautiful city in which we live and do business, and we're grateful for this wonderful weather you blessed us with this past week. And tonight, Father, I pray you guide these council members as they meet and discuss matters with regards to this great city. I pray they recognize their position of leadership as a stewardship from you, and that all their actions, their words, their decisions, all that they do, Lord, would it show their motivation to do what is good and right for the people and businesses of Nassau Bay. Give them wisdom as they seek to guide the city, as they solve the problems and the challenges facing them tonight and in the months to come. Help them to be competent and excellent in their governance. But most of all, Lord, I pray that these councilmen, these councilwomen, and all those present tonight, that we would all submit our lives to your sovereign leadership and rule, that we would know you, serve you, and one day enjoy your presence for all of eternity. And it is the name of your Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, by whom I pray these things tonight. Amen.
Amen. And with that is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor
the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee,
Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And here's what I call one of the fun things of my position that I get to do here. I'll put some checks right there. But Jim, come on up. I believe you may have already gotten your check, but I want everyone to understand, and I'd like you to say a few things about the effort that you're going to do. And I'll even have a ceremonial check for the things.
Okay,
here, so
not a 6 by 10 check.
not a 6 by 10 check. It's yourself too. Come on up.
No, thank you.
So this is the paddle the Nassau Bay Peninsula. And the only thing I'm going to say is this is probably for one of the best causes around. It's particularly to support and bring hope to our men in uniform who are suffering from PTSD. So from that standpoint, why don't the two of you give a little bit of a background,
Sure.
and then we'll take a picture with
I'll
that.
be glad to.
But let me one thing. This is for $35,000. This is something to make sure we're able to get our men in uniform here so that they can participate. That some of them are ones that would not have been able to stay for the whole time unless Jim and David here had been supportive of bringing them, having them up at the hotel, and it's the least we can do.
Thank you.
Go for it.
So thank you all very much. Just a quick little background. Been doing things with the military on and off. Served in the military back in the Vietnam era. 2011, I put together a boat parade here in Nassau Bay. Had a great turnout. Took the family members of the Marines that were then in Afghanistan from Ellington Field, combat Marines, to they were in the field fighting. And And took them for, out for a boat ride in the parade and did a lot of good things, got a lot of support from the city, and the Coast Guard and whatnot. Well, 11 years later, found out that one of those guys killed himself from PTSD. So it's an ongoing issue. So that's what we're doing. David and I are doing. David's got accounting business here in town, so he's helping handle the money. So any problems with money, there's no gas.
Little side shuffle there, right?
Yeah.
It's all my fault.
Yeah, it's all your fault. Anything you'd like to say?
No, sir, just glad to be here and support great cause.
That's great.
So we have a meeting today. Let's go to the check first.
Well,
Check. Here, get the money.
here you go. For the both of you here, put your hands on. So,
Sorry, Counselor Chess. 1, 2, 3. Great, y'all. Thank you.
thank you.
So I just brought this along as a little memento. We had a little meeting today with James, and a couple of things we're concerned about safety. VHF radio and buoys on the water. So look at the shallow part of the water, inviting everybody to come at the end. We're gonna start at 7:30, the Hilton, travel around to 2 different parks and end up at the Nassau Bay Yacht Club. And there will the veterans will be speaking about some of their issues, and we'll have some fun stuff for the kids and families. So everybody's invited. There'll be food, just asking for donations.
And I know we have some TV here. Why don't you give the time and the date and
Okay,
that to
thank
make
you.
sure everybody who wants to participate to help out our.
Well, first of all, you just gotta pick up a QR code. They're all over the place, and just snap it and donate online. That's one of the easiest things you can do. But the event is this Saturday. We're gonna start off in the Hilton at 7:45, do a blessing, a safety briefing, and get started. And then about 9 o'clock, we'll have the boats in the water. U.S. Coast Guard will be there to support us, and the state Nassau Bay Safety Boat. I think a couple of the law enforcement agencies too. And then we'll end up at the Nassau Bay Yacht Club. Actually, we'll complete the whole peninsula, because Nassau Bay is a peninsula city.
It is,
And we have a peninsula inside our peninsula.
the teardrop.
Right, yes. Anyway, so we'll end up over there and we'll have a fun time there, and the vets will speak about their issues, and everybody's invited to come and participate. Brought this along because this is gonna be number one thing.
When do you anticipate people to end up at
Oh, okay,
the
good question.
marina, the Nassau
Probably
Bay
around
Yacht Club?
10:30, 11 o'clock.
About 11 o'clock in the morning.
It depends on, we found out somebody signed up today as an Olympian rower, so she might be there in 30 minutes. Heck, who knows?
But no, so anybody who's interested to either help with a kickoff, it's going to be like right around 9 o'clock, right off to the side with the Hilton, where the new construction for the condos is going to be. And it's going to end up at the Nassau Bay Marina, probably around 11 o'clock. And there'll be quite a bit of celebration, just
Yeah.
fellowship,
Yeah.
as well as support for
Right.
our men in uniform.
And then we do 2 stops along the way, or at least we'll slide by or across from the Howard Ward Park, and then David Ron Park too.
Yeah, that
And
works.
people can jump on board there if they want to. You can swim the dang thing if you want to, I don't care. There's no more.
So I was gonna give this to you, but I guess I should be going over there. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
One last thing, Jim. Do you still need volunteers to help you this
Yeah.
weekend? Okay, what time should the volunteers show up and where?
Go to wecareevents.com and we'll have some information there.
Okay,
WeCareEvents.com
wecareevents.com
on Facebook.
on Facebook,
Yeah.
and then people can
Yeah.
read the information if they'd like to volunteer and help you this
Yeah, we'll have
weekend.
that updated tomorrow. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome, okay.
There you are. You're right in front. Sure. Dot, please come on up. Everyone, come on up, please.
Marty.
Yeah, and James, come on up. I'll leave you on this side. I know where I'm. So this is a check in support of Being Angel, but in particular, it's in support of the inaugural Walt Cunningham Run. So it is I heard it's a 5K? It's a 5K, not a 10, but it's a 5K. And if you haven't seen it, it's got a great logo. I think they're even gonna have,
No, I
Yeah,
have
they
to, I
do.
have to show you the shirt. Now, if you sign up, this is the shirt you get there. Isn't that gorgeous?
Yeah.
I know you want one.
Yeah.
I mean, they go with everything, I promise.
I got one that's gonna be hopefully right now.
and many people know, but many people probably also don't know that Walt Cunningham was a very senior person over in NASA. He was also a citizen here in Nassau Bay, and we are very proud to help out in regards to the inaugural run.
If I can add to that, Walt was also one of the moonwalkers. So we had several here in Nassau Bay, but Walt has supported businesses and veterans throughout the state of Texas and really contributed a lot back after he retired from NASA. And Dot, has been fantastic to have you come and do this, and nothing's more fitting than having a run for Walt.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you.
And his attention to kids with special needs too.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, how many years now?
37 years ago, our founder actually was a volunteer mom at a school in Houston. And she saw a little girl being carried from her bus and laid on a mat in her classroom. And so she was inquisitive enough to ask why, and her mother was a maid, and she couldn't afford her little girl's broken wheelchair to fix it. And so our founder, 37 years ago, said, we're gonna fix a wheelchair, and that's how Be an Angel, one person, one idea was born. And now, 37 years later, we're serving about 8,000 special needs children throughout Texas.
Well, I'd like to say two things. Thank you very much to all of you for being here tonight. And also, I wasn't kidding. Please sign up and come to you don't have to come and run or walk or cross. We're going to have a VIP tent, and you'll meet people that you may have wanted to meet. You'll see some probably you don't want to meet. But come and have a drink with us, have us some dessert or whatever. But get acquainted with us, because we certainly would like to get acquainted with you. Also, I would like to tell you that Walt Cunningham loved this area. He came from California in 1963 for the space program. And he had one of the most, if not the most envied job in the world in the 60s. He came from the Rand Corporation doing, private stuff with the government, whatever that meant. Anyway, he moved here, he built his home here, he raised his children here, he took the flight on Apollo 7 here, so this is a very, very important place for us.
And he's a very important part of our
Joe,
history.
can you
And two-
introduce the people?
Yeah, so maybe you would like, these are two of the children, I believe.
I'm Rodney Vanderson. I'm Dot Cunningham's son.
I'm Karen, I'm Dot's son, a daughter. And I'm Marty Boone, I'm the director of Be an Angel.
Okay.
We can't say enough. You know what? If you don't like to run, we can still give you a shirt that says red.
Always
And
sell it.
that's right. And you can virtually run anytime you want. So be sure we have brochures for everybody with
Yeah.
a QR code on it. Beanangel.org. It's really easy to find. And you support our special needs children. You put them in wheelchairs. You give them hearing aids. There's so many things children with special needs from especially low-income families do not receive. And Medicaid is less and less every year. And so it really does help our children get the things and provide the things that basic needs, just basic needs. So thank you so much for allowing us.
One more
to be
thing,
here.
let me tell you, we have 9 programs at Be an Angel, and you choose the programs in which you want to support. I chose from the very beginning our Christmas program, where we this past year was 20,000 plus gifts that we bought for the over 5,000 children. And these are gifts that most of the children would never get before. But what we need, starting in November, isn't it November, Marty?
Second week?
Used to be Target, now it's going to be
Walmart.
this year. And we have a trash bag that has a slip on it, and it has the child's name and, all sorts of information. And the schools, they're the ones that prepare this and bring them to us. And if you will come and give us 30 minutes, an hour, all day, whatever, take one of those bags. They'll tell you exactly the name that you should be purchasing, like for a train, whatever train the child would need. You go and you check it off, and you put a piece like that, you check it off, you put it in the bag, and you take it up to the counter, and then it just goes right through, and we pay the bill at the end. And if you're interested in that, it's over $250,000. We could use anything in the way of money, like $50,000, you know, something like that. But thank
And
you.
volunteers.
Well, I believe this is for $10,000.
This is amazing. They're
So-
main
Thank you.
sponsor for
It
the
is.
run.
And
Thank
to
you
all
so
council
much,
members,
Mayor.
thank you
while-
very much.
And while we did this for Dot and Walt Cunningham and their family, I was thinking I was gonna give you, but I understand just like the brother, you're the accountant. You're the money lady. So,
Thank you
very
so
much
much,
so.
really.
No
We
problem.
appreciate it. Thank you all so
Let's get a
much.
picture here.
Let's repeat the date and time.
It's the 21st.
It's also the 21st.
Yeah.
Right here. 1, 2. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Is Andrea here? There you are. Come on up.
You want me for that one?
Sure, sure.
Hi, girls. Congratulations on your bases.
And you play the part. Come on up. This is the Longhorn Project. For those that don't know, these are for the Longhorns across the street in NASA and in the Johnson Space Center. A lot of this goes, and don't let me steal your thunder, but a lot of this goes for, you know, the FFA and the different things along that line. And this is to help support that effort for children doing agricultural work. And let me turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor, City Council, citizens. Thank you very much for this wonderful donation. The Longhorn Project, also known as the Center for Agriculture, Science, and Engineering, was started by George Abbey in 1996 as a way to honor our Texas history, because the Longhorns are native to the state of Texas, and to show the difference in travel and time. And it's going to be the basis for STEM education. And so since 2004, actually we partnered with CCISD, and at that time, Dr. Wilson was a superintendent. And during that time, Dr. Sandra Mossman was the assistant superintendent, and she started what we have today is our educational field trip program. And she partnered with NASA, and they wrote this wonderful curriculum that we have today. It's a 4-part curriculum that covers the Longhorns, the gardens, the lab, and the George Abbey Rocket Park and Saturn V building. And since 2004, we've had over 80,000 students that have gone through this program. And right now, we have all the 4th graders from CCISD. And wonderful, and then we have field trip tomorrow. Since in 2015, CCISD gave the program to the nonprofit we created, because this way we can expose this program to all school districts, homeschool, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, whatever organization we want to. And so 2 years ago, we started our summer youth camp, and we've doubled it this year. And we have these wonderful little kids that come out and learn all about agriculture, livestock, space exploration. We take them to mission control. They learn how to paint the moon, watercolor, garden, science projects, work with the Longhorns. It's amazing. And we also work with CCISD, their FFA program, and having kids on our show team. And this is the last year that we're going to run a formal show team, just because I'm getting too old. But we also
Takes a lot.
It takes a lot. We're on the road like before, you know, it's just a lot. But our goal this year is to double our size of our field trips from like 4,000 kids a year to 8,000 kids a year, and keep on building it. We were at 7,000 kids a year right before COVID, and we were almost meeting our goal of 10,000 kids, but we got set back a little bit with COVID. So this is a wonderful contribution. This Friday night, the Bars 295, the owners, Mike Kesserman and Mike Robinson, they have, last year, we just kind of hooked up, and they just said, we want to help you. We want to help you get back on your feet from COVID. And so they gave us a concert, Wade Bowen. This year they said, pick your concert. They gave me a list of names, and I said, I want the Eli Young Band. So this Friday night, they have dedicated that concert to us. They're running like the behind the scenes, I'm running in front of the scenes, and we are having a live auction, the big concert, and hopefully we will double our money of what we made last year. And hopefully with this contribution, it's going to set us on our way. Like I said, we started this in 1996, so everything is old. And so we're going through everything and replenishing, fixing everything.
We resemble that remark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in that category too. But it has been a wonderful program, and I guess it was last Saturday, we had the open house along with NASA. And we had about 1,000 people that came to visit the Longhorn Project in our gardens, and we had just the best time. And it's just a treasure in this community. And thanks to all the people that have supported us, we are continuing to grow. So thank you, everybody, so much for what y'all have
Here is a
done.
check. It's also for $10,000.
Yes, thank
So,
you.
thank you for all you do.
Thank you
Yes,
very
all right.
much. Thank you
Take
very
care.
much. Thank you very much.
You guys can be checked.
All right, it was on selfie mode.
We
Okay.
can do that.
1, 2, 3. Thank y'all very much.
There we go.
And if you didn't catch my boots, they have the rocket, the solar system, and a Longhorn on them.
There you go.
So, this anyway, I think they made them for me, but, thank y'all very,
Last
very
but not
much.
least, I got a support for Can-Be. If you would come up here, Gail. Sarah, if you would like to come up, because you're on the board too.
Yeah, Colleen Etheridge as well.
We could. You want to come up?
Glenn?
Come on
You
up.
got pretty much all. You got Daniel, where are you?
So
Glenn?
this is to,
Spencer? Yeah.
we got a whole bunch of people here then. Come on
He's on
up.
our reindeer fundraising committee.
So this is for the reindeer run. And this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is something that had been handled by the Three Sisters
Yeah.
before it was even Methodist.
That's right.
And it goes back, I think, my wife would even know because she has religiously run in the reindeer run. But it
30
now,
years.
yeah, it stopped or that, and now you're picking up in order to be able to resurrect and make sure we have a continuity, if I
That's
have thy history right.
You do.
So, and why don't you say a few things about Can-Be, and why don't you say a few things just for the reindeer run?
All right, well, as some of you may know, Can-Be is the Community Association for Nassau Bay Enhancement. And we are here to, in the community, we're a licensed 501c3 nonprofit, and we help enhance Nassau Bay to keep up property values and just to keep it looking nice and spiffy. Our homeowners, HOAs and stuff really don't cover all of the common areas, so that's something that we like to get involved with. As you know, we've done a lot of things over the years. We've been around since 2007, and hopefully everyone's driven down Point Lookout to see Bobby Williams' home. She's got the beautification award this month or this quarter, so she's done a great job all the time with her.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I think a lot of people are here for the dog park. You
Oh,
actually
yes.
put in the dog park.
We actually did a fundraiser to not only put in the dog park, but we did another fundraiser into April 1st of 2017 for Paws for a Cause to help healthcare of the animals and things like that. So we're real excited about that. We've helped out, the Garden Club and Naughty Cats and just a lot of different things around town. We are doing the Reindeer Fun Run on Saturday, December 9th. It is the same day as the holiday in the park. So get up early. We're asking people to come and stay in Nassau Bay and hit our race at 7:30 in the morning. It starts at 8, and we have some fun activities and things, exciting things going
And
on.
this is going to be by age bracket as performance. It's going to be timed. It's
It
like the
is.
real deal.
It is the real deal. We've done a timed race each year, but we've included a lot more things this year. I'm really excited because the city of Nassau Bay has added ADA Equipment
access
for the-
and equipment
for
for
the
the
playground.
for the playground.
Right,
correct.
so we're partnering with Eye Care Alliance ICANN, it's EYE, CAN Alliance, to people partner with people who are blind or visually impaired. And we're inviting them to come out and participate in the race as well, because they've got to do so many timed races to qualify for other
Just to
races.
put in that plug is that 2 of our parks now either have playground equipment or the trails and the access, so people with mobility issues now have full access to 2 of our main
Awesome.
parks. So, yep.
We want to stay on the
Excellent.
forefront.
This is $10,000.
Awesome.
And
Thank
I
you very
believe
much.
you're the right person to put
Yes.
even though. Thank you. Anybody else want to say anything or any? And here's, have the picture.
Okay.
1, 2.
All right.
Thank you very much.
There we go. Next on the agenda is the citizens' comments, for the public hearing. And yes, I want to make sure, Martha, you come up first.
Okay, hello, I am Martha Abbey, I live in Javon Lane, 1703. Well, this summer, me and my friend did a bake sale to fix up, to raise money to fix up the gazebo. And I wanted to have some updates on that. Well, we were hoping maybe we could have a reopening party since it is going to be getting fixed up. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was my speech for this. But it is going to be, they're going to renovate it, and soon we were maybe hoping to have a reopening party when it is renovated, though we're not sure when that date will be.
Do we, Paul, just to help her out a little bit?
It started today.
Yeah, I thought it started
Started
today.
building.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, that's why I came up.
And you got Eagle Eye Palm.
And to maybe even do something is with Holiday in the Park coming up, there may be a really good ribbon cutting session for that as a suggestion. Okay.
And also we're wondering if we do have the decorations that we earned the money for. We just wanted to double check on that.
The thing you're all supposed to have your name and your place of home. She did?
Yeah.
Oh, did she? I didn't hear that. Never mind. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah. Okay. Anything
Good job,
else?
Martha. Thank you, Martha.
Nothing much, I'm.
Good job.
Anybody else?
Hi, everybody. I'm Rebecca Cadle, 18579 Martin Drive. I have kind of a problem that maybe some of you can help me with. It seems that over the past several months, maybe, that there has been more animosity in the city than when I first moved here. And I find it a little disconcerting that members of council and members of the city seem to denigrate and say negative things about present and past staff of the city. And I'm just wondering if we all kind of look around and are aware of this problem, that maybe we can go back to the time, I'm sure your mom told you at one time, if you can't say anything nice at all, don't say anything at all. And so I really feel like some of the negativity in the city results from some of these negative comments that come out of our city council. And, I don't know if there's anything we can do to get it under control, but I just kind of wanted to point it out that it does get a little depressing when all you hear are a lot of negative things about members of the staff, current and past. Thank you.
Yeah.
Navigate the minefield here.
Watch the tripping head.
Hello, my name is Brian Clark. I live in 18703 Point Lookout Drive. Lived here about 25, 27 years, something like that. I take the lady's remarks in consideration, but understand that we will be considering the naming of the dog park. And I think what I want to convey is, let's don't think about politics. Let's think about a young man who went to a friend's house and got mauled seriously, injured dramatically. And it was a responsibility of Mr. Reed, who was the owner of the dog, to protect whoever was at his house and his children and his family. And I consider that for Jack Barrett to live every day with those wounds and those scars and those memories, that the dog park is named after Mr. Reed is insulting. And I think it's to our benefit to reconsider that, to take what happened to Jack in consideration, who was young and born and raised here. Mike Barrett's son. I live across the street from Mike, and Mike and I have had our moments sometimes. But his kids, his family are upstanding, great young men, and Mike's a stand-up guy. You know, he's passionate about things, and we don't often always agree, but I defend his right to be that way. And I'm not saying anything against Mr. Reed. We could name like the little ballpark after Mr. Reed, you know. But the dog park particularly is something, frankly, I was concerned about, and when I found out about this, I wanted to speak. So I'm sure my 3 minutes are up, but I wanted at least say
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a long time since I've been in front of a microphone. My name is Susan Wilson. I live at 18703 Point Lookout. And I'm here also to support the changing of the name. I didn't really know Mr. Reed, but I thought he was a decent city manager. What I can say is I know that Jack Barrett is a good kid. I know that he's an outstanding young man, and he was born and raised here, and he doesn't and shouldn't ever have to walk past a dog park of all things with Mr. Reed's name on it. If you want to represent Mr. Reed and represent the fact that he loved dogs, name a fire hydrant after him. I don't know, but I don't believe that a dog park should be named after him. His passion for dogs, I mean, he turned around and bought more dogs, the same kind. So I just don't think that it is appropriate. I don't believe that Jack should have to experience that or see that or have that a part of his life any more than he's going to anyway. So I'm just here supporting him. And like my husband who spoke before me, I don't always agree with Mike Barrett, but Jack Barrett is an outstanding young man, and I will stand up for him any day.
Thank you.
Susan.
Others?
Hi, I'm Alexis Reed. I live at 2401 Restored Road. It is not Nassau Bay, but I am here to speak upon the dog park issue. I am Chris Reed's youngest daughter, and I just wanted to come and share on my thoughts and express my feelings on this matter. My father's memory and impact on not just the Nassau Bay community, but League City, Kemah, and Princeton, Indiana, his hometown, it still lives on and it's still felt. My family and I cannot control how others choose to remember our real life Superman. Just as we cannot control the choices of those on this council or any city of Nassau Bay official for that matter who decided not to contact anyone in my family over this issue. I would like to know how the council came to this decision, what came about to have the council reconsider their dedication to my father's memory, Why would the council of the city that my father worked in for many years would then go around and try to hide this from our family after we had already lost him? It's heartbreaking and disheartening to me. And why wouldn't this issue be brought up before the park was dedicated to him? And, you know, his memory could have been very easily erased, just like a mess with a pencil and paper, if it wasn't for one of my friends who works in the police department who called me and told me about it. I feel like we definitely, if my family was approached with this issue, we could have came up with something to dedicate to my father so that Jack, who I did grow up with, he is in my grade, he was my friend, we could have helped him out to allow him to feel more comfortable. But instead, it was almost hidden from us, and I just really didn't appreciate that, and I'm very hurt by that. So hopefully we can come to something to make Jack feel more comfortable and to still carry on my dad's memory. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Bob Juleron, 1606 Antigua. So I think it's a complicated issue. There's no denying that. I certainly understand both sides. What troubles me about this is the optics of it all. I mean, we all know Mike. We all know his alliances with Michelle Weller passing out flyers. We've seen, it's impossible to see the sequence of that event and not question why it's coming up now. Right or wrong, regardless of whether the dog park ought to be renamed or not, it just gives the impression that you do a favor for somebody and you get special treatment. We've had more than enough of that in Nassau Bay. Unfortunately, I think that damages a really good case. I think there's a great case on how to rename the dog park and find a different way to honor Chris Reed. I'm all for that. The problem is people are going to, no matter how much you guys deny it, they're going to connect the dots and see the sequence of events. They're going to know where political alliances lie, and they're going to say it smells fishy. It's a shame. You got a great case for renaming this park and finding another way, and it's diminished by that. You know, it's just too bad. The other thing is, you know, call the family. How the hell did we come up with this and get it on an agenda and not have the decency to reach out and say, hey, we want to honor him differently? It's not erasing him, I hope. I hope we're not talking about erasing his legacy, right? We're talking about changing it. So call and talk to him about it. You maybe get a phone call from somebody at random. Hey, just FYI, I'm going to show up on Monday. It's terrible. It's embarrassing. It's sad. I mean, do better. God, I thought I'm always up for saying do better, but it irritates the hell out of me that that's the way it's handled, you know? God. I had another point. I can't remember what it was. Oh, no. How many minutes do I have left?
50 seconds.
Yeah, that got me. That she had to find out like that. Yeah, I mean, I support finding a different way. We gotta find some way to honor his legacy. There's a ton of people. I mean, you remember his funeral is more popular, you know, it looked like JFK's funeral procession. If you don't find a way to honor and respect Chris Reed's legacy, you're gonna do more damage to the people who work in the city and support this city. I don't think you want to do that. You probably ought to have thought about how you're going to change the way we remember him before it showed up on an agenda and blindsided the family. You know, water on the bridge, can't fix it now. I would say, if you're smart, you will start tonight thinking of tangible ways that these stakeholders can agree with about how it ought to change. The impression that we're trying to erase his memory is not going to fly with people. No matter what Chris Reed was or wasn't, perfect or imperfect, the fact is he needs to be remembered. People care deeply about that, and we got to make sure that happens. Is that my timer? Thank you.
I wrote what I'm gonna say, so don't start my timer yet. I'm Michelle Hancock, 1710 Boothbay Lane. I've lived here all my life, and I'm here to tell my story. And I'm gonna read as fast as I can. Most of the time, we spend our days looking at situations through our own eyes, our own perspective. Perspective can change depending on where the viewer is looking from. Very seldom do we take time to look at the perspective of what is occurring through the eyes and thoughts of others, even when they are experiencing the exact same situation, unless, of course, they agree with our own perspective. I'm not a politically driven person. I'm not on Facebook, and I generally don't show up at council meetings, although I have been to a few for instances that I believe are unjust. I'm here tonight for that reason. This is my story, my perspective. I would appreciate if you would listen through my thoughts, my family's thoughts, my brother's family's thoughts, and most of all, try to put yourself in the thoughts and experiences of a 9-year-old little boy, my nephew, who calls Nassau Bay home. On the afternoon of April 7th, 2011, I received a distraught phone call from my brother. It was difficult to piece together what was happening, but I knew he needed me to go right then to the Reeves, Chris and Jana's house, which I did immediately, arriving within a few seconds. Upon arrival, I found my brother and nephew on the driveway, both in shock. The Reeves' 2 dogs, a full-grown boxer and a 120-pound American Bulldog. It's important to note that the American Bulldog had a record of previous attacks. The Reeves' dogs had just attacked my 9-year-old nephew, who had entered the house with their daughter. There was no warning from the Reeves that their dogs might become aggressive. Immediately upon arrival, the dogs in pack mentality attacked my nephew. Thankfully, the kids were carrying walkie-talkies, and the Reeves' youngest daughter, who entered the home, started screaming into one of them. That screaming alerted my brother at his home, and he went straight to the Reeves' house and was able to free my nephew from the grips of the dogs. My nephew had multiple severe injuries that required an 8-day stay at Texas Children's Hospital. He had multiple surgeries and so many wound drains. My story continues well after April 7th with so much more, as recovery was long and hard. Although Gina Reed and their youngest daughter did inquire about my nephew, absolutely no attempt was made by Chris Reed to take responsibility or simply check on the well-being of my nephew while he was in the hospital or after he came home. Absolutely nothing. Fast forward to 2020, the city of Nassau Bay decided to memorialize the dog park with a plaque honoring Chris Reed. Upon learning that this honor was going to be given to the dog park, requests were made that something else carry Chris Reed's name, but these requests were ignored. The Reeds no longer live in Nassau Bay. We do. There is no thought at all into how this might affect a child and the family of that child that was viciously attacked by the very dogs of the person that the city decided to honor, memorialize by naming a dog park after. Now put yourself in the shoes of the 9-year-old child. Look through his eyes. Be the little boy laying on the driveway minutes after having a fun play date with a friend, but now laying in shock with large, very deep, very thick, open wounds and too many punctures to count. Bleeding, asking for water, but unable to have any. A little boy and his family who spent over a week in the hospital. Parents who had to be away from their other child in order to ensure this one was okay. Look through the eyes of the 9-year-old boy and tell me you think it's right to have a small community dog park honoring a man whose home and dogs represented the most horrific dog attack in Nassau Bay history. I am the aunt of this precious little boy. My perspective is much different than yours. I lived this trauma with my family and my nephew. I am grateful, so grateful that he is alive. Correct this heinous wrong. Thank you.
Thank
Hi, good evening. My name is Katie Frazier, and I'm at 1423 Badland. And I just want to say something about the political alliances comment. I think some people are going to see the political alliances in everything when there isn't any. Freaking my parent and Michelle Weller went to high school together. I mean, like, I don't think, I mean, if there's a political, I mean, that's like a political alliance. There's sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with it, is my point. Like, you can drive something to that all the time. So I just don't think that's fair. And I also question, you know, I agree that the family should have been contacted, but I question the professionalism of the person who contacted the family. Why didn't they go to their boss or a council member and say, hey, that's actually a friend of mine and I don't think the family knows. Maybe we should reach out to them in a professional manner and I actually know the family and I can do that for you. Or I can facilitate that. That would have been the professional way to handle that as the police person who reached out to the family, instead of reaching out and being hurtful to them.
Like, to me, that would have been a better bridge that would have not hurt the family and that would have made the city look more professional. Again, that would have been the way to handle it, to make it better. If the intent was to not hurt the family. Again, this was not some little attack. I think that we've made that clear. It was the worst attack. It's clearly terrible. Life flight was, you know, possibly considered. I don't know why the past council chose that honor to be given. I like to try to give people the most generous of assumptions when I don't have all the information. Maybe it was just an oversight. Maybe it was just an insensitivity. You know, we have an opportunity to change it. The plaque doesn't say anything about dog park on there. There are 1,000 other ways that we can make that honor for something else. I think that if you dig too deep into it, you know, it could look like more than just poor taste. It could look retaliatory or, you know, in another way. And I think we should be able to do both things. We should be able to honor Mr. Reed, and we should be able to do that in a way that is not insensitive to the Barrett family. Like, we should be able to do both things. And I am on the Parks Committee, and I did vote for that. I don't think I said that in the beginning. I'm too. And that's all. Thank you.
Sarah Plunk, 18639 Prince William Lane. I didn't come here tonight to present to you a list of accolades about Chris Reed. Quite frankly, I don't think that I need to. And if you, well, the man's funeral procession did that. And if you didn't live here during that time, rest assured it was significantly longer than anyone in this room is likely to be. As far as the incident in question goes, the mere fact that the Reed family found out about this move after the agenda to this meeting was posted tells me that the accounting of the incident has been entirely one-sided for you guys. And I'm gonna agree with Katie here. The city should have done that. I don't think that the city council, I didn't think that the city council really got involved in civil matters, but since the proverbial can of worms has been opened, I'm just gonna say that this was a tragic accident. Nobody is arguing that or negating it. Both families suffered. Kids lost friendships. The dog in question paid with its life. The Reed family lost a pet and was sued. And all of this happened well before the dog park was ever named. This exact issue was brought to the council at the time. And after a well-rounded accounting and consideration, they agreed to move forward unanimously. But aside from all these things, this is exhausting. One council puts up a monument, this council wants to tear it down. One council names a dog park, this council wants to change it and take down the plaque. Do you honestly consider these things the best use of your time and the city's funds? And I'm sure that we'll soon hear it's fine because we're gonna use hot funds. No big deal. You guys really have no vision for the future of this city? Is the reason you ran for office just so that you could micromanage the past? Is this the legacy that you wish to leave? If you're looking for a legacy to emulate, if you're looking for a way to leave this city better than you found it, I challenge you to really look into what Chris Reed did for this city. Look into what he was able to accomplish with his short time in Nassau Bay and on this earth. Maybe you'll gain some inspiration and we can start looking forward instead of back around here. Make sure you read the plaque that you want to take down. It says, do right, do your best, treat others the way you want to be treated.
Anybody else?
A lot's been said. My name is TJ Alts, 18618 Cape Town Drive. A lot's been said here, bringing up past incidents that were just horrible. Mike, Jack, people who have also attacked y'all on this thing should not be doing that. They should not be making this a personality issue. This should be about a process issue. And unfortunately, the process here does look murky. If the recommendation of the park board was to have a balancing act, why is not the agenda saying that? The agenda says removal of. It does not say an alternative of. This could have been a positive move, as you heard from Alexis herself here. If they had been informed, they would have worked on this. This was openly voted on in 2019. 2 meetings, public board, park board, and council meeting. Now, I did check, I didn't see anything on that. Hope if you did that and someone did not listen to you, that's unfortunate. They should have mine. Yeah, and Jack, it is one of the kids. I see his dogs out there all the time as well. They live right around the corner. This is not about a character assassination, folks. This is about process. And also what we've heard here of it doesn't smell right, not because of political affiliations, it's because it was a surprise here for many in this community. Mayor, I take you at your word, what you posted, that there's another alternative to look at here. And there was, but why wasn't that considered before putting this on the agenda? That's the way to do this. In fact, if you really want to look at the progress that this city has had, that 7-0 vote that happened on that council, let's go back to the big unanimous vote that created the public-private partnership, that created this building, that created the economic development we have sitting out there right now. Don Matter wouldn't have this building named after him. He and that council had not worked with Chris Reed with one of the first ever public-private partnerships in a town of this size. So why is that not an alternative? Lay out the plaza and name that. Why is that not the positive side to say, hey, we agree that this is a bad memory here, maybe it's misplaced, but tell you what, we're gonna make this honor here. Why wasn't that the alternative considered? Mayor Denman, I think if someone had come to you with that option, you may have considered that as well at the time. But I think sometimes personalities, and you're right, man, the personalities that get in there, but it's both ways, folks. I hear it, see it too often in my job. I'm a resident of the city. I love this city. I don't blame anyone here for making certain decisions. This is a tough job. I know it personally. Here covering for so long, not having sat in your seats. I'm afraid to do that myself, to tell you the truth. But you know, I understand people want to find the political motives in a lot of these things. I understand that's fine. There may be sometimes, but let's take that all aside. If we want to, as we heard so pointedly here, to stop the back bickering and the like that, it starts at its one place here. It starts with, what are we doing instead of just complaining and walking away with our balls? When we take away from the game? What are we doing as citizens to discuss these things? What are we doing to see each other and do that? That's what should be happening here. Start with a positive move here instead of naming it as a negative one. Don't make it a surprise. Mayor, I appreciate you saying online that this should be an open process, open forum, as it was in 2019. And to do so, I believe Mike when he says this process was not handled right by the city 13 years ago. That process was wrong. But this doesn't fix that. But I agree that yes, it is traumatic. That he's a great kid. See him all the time. As I said, they love their dogs as I love mine, and I've never had an issue when I see him over there. So this shouldn't be a personality-driven thing. This should be about the process. And again, making this a positive and not a negative. We have enough of that going on in this town. I am sick of it. And I'm saying this personally, not as a media representative. I am saying this, I'm sick of it. I want this town to succeed. I want this town to be better. And the only way that's gonna do it is we all do it. Everyone stop your agendas now. That way. But again, I suggest this. Either table this motion, come back with the alternative that's more of a positive. Let the city decide it beforehand. Hear about it, beforehand. And then go from that. Or, there's nothing wrong with the process. You have the agenda item on there right now. It allows you to do more than just remove. Just because the agenda says that. Someone can ask for an amendment tonight and say, we want to name the plaza out here. We want to name this after Chris Reed and do that. But again, that would be short-sighted within a few minutes. Probably need to get more input from people and hear this. And please, let Alexis and her family come in there. They may not live here anymore, but their heart and souls in this town. And again, I was a personal friend with Chris. There's no doubt about that. But he served our country in the military, put his life on the line as a law enforcement officer for a long time. And one incident in his life, that was a major screw up. There's no such thing as an accident, folks. Sorry, it's not an accident. You have to do things to make sure those incidents don't happen. But again, one mistake in a life, should that lead to something like this? No, it should be something better. And that's my time. Thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Stacy Amateur out of the, I'm not gonna get my address on record, at Leeward, you know where I live. And I hate public speaking, so I don't have anything planned. But I'm so proud of you, Alexis. It must be so hard for you to be here today and to just all the way this unfolded. And Jack, I'm so sorry about what happened to you. And I'm so glad to see you here today and
It's not Jack.
oh, I'm sorry. I don't know Jack. I assume that was Jack. My bad, Mike.
A lot of people don't know, but go ahead.
Well, okay, then I'll shut up. I told you I didn't plan anything. I hate public speaking. Anyway, I'm glad, Mike, that your son is okay. And I know that it was a long journey. TJ, whoa, I hope that an accident never happens to you, because what I heard you say was that this tragic accident was Chris's fault. And I don't know if you meant to say that, but I'm gonna say it was not. You can't blame one man for something that happens like that, I don't think. So I want to say publicly, disagree. And that's all I'll say to that. I like to think that most of us remember all of the things that Chris Reed did for this city, but everything that you see today, except for the last year, you can thank Chris for that. Everything, even after he died. Everything. He was a visionary. And it was a tragic accident. I do not agree that it was his fault. Michelle, I think you understand, I hope, that he was not allowed to contact you guys. And I know that you know that he was torn up. I know that you know that the settlement was more than fair. I won't get into how that broke down.
I don't even know how you can even begin to discuss any of those things, honestly.
Well, all due respect, Mr. Graham, you're not in a position to discuss any of that. I'm telling you, you have no idea about what you're talking about. and
I
your
know
life
you,
is wrong.
and so
You have no
I'll
idea what you're
take my
talking
time.
about. And folks, seriously,
Mayor,
you can't say
you
that.
have a PR problem, I've told you that before. If you ever want to text me and just say, how is this gonna land? I'll be happy to let you know. You could have spun this so easily as,
I get my chance to talk to you.
that's fine.
But
We want
Please,
to,
I'm gonna get control of this here a little bit. This is something here for people to be able to voice their opinions. And I think we need to be respectful of those opinions. And in quoting some people here, this is a complex issue
absolutely.
with not easy solutions.
I agree.
But one of the things I'm hopeful for is that there's going to be, mending as we go forward.
But you keep doing it backward. Instead of putting on the agenda, finding a new way to honor Chris Reed, who created the city that we know today. Not Nassau Bay, but the city that we know today. Instead of doing that, you put on the agenda, and I do hold you personally responsible because you're in charge of the agenda. You put on the agenda removing him from the dog park. Mike did have his chance to speak.
Mayor, I think the comments are supposed to be to the entire council, not to individual members, so if we could make that clear.
Okay, I'll speak to you then.
Again,
You-
it's to the entire council, not individual council.
Okay, where would you like me?
The city council of Nassau Bay, please.
City Council of Nassau Bay. You could have spun this differently, but it's Groundhog Day. We keep saying that. It was the same with everything, the ducks, all of it. Just when you put something out there, think about how you can put it in a positive light so that Nassau Bay does not continue to become a joke, because it was not a joke before this council. Nobody laughed at Nassau Bay before this council. Including everybody. We
we were emulated before this. I'm not stopping because everybody took my minutes. I want to say that Chris Reed made this city. You could have done it right, you didn't. I suggest that you table this and rework it next time and reframe it. It's not right to take away his legacy like this. It's just gross.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, 3 minutes, are we up? I believe we're past the 3 minute.
No, but I'm gonna allow it.
Okay, can
It's
I say
okay.
one more
I'm gonna
thing?
allow it.
Can I say one more thing? About the police officer that allegedly contacted Alexis to let her know. We've also said before that the employees in Nassau Bay don't feel safe. They don't even feel safe to smile and nod at certain people in this city because then they might get in trouble. So certainly they cannot go to their boss and say, hey, I think this is shady. And I think that's sad. And I believe that we suggested back when you had your, whatever you want to call it, at Bell Harbor, that you do an anonymous survey with the employees and ask them about how they felt that things were going and if they felt safe to talk to you guys. And I don't think that has happened, but I'm going to suggest that again. Because yes, I agree, in a perfect world, that police officer should have been able to go to council or the mayor or the city manager or to the chief and be able to say, hey, I don't think this is right. But that's not the reality here. And so gosh, I hope there's no retribution against the police officer. Thank you, I'm sorry whenever, I'm a terrible public speaker.
Anybody else?
Bryce Klug, 1869 Cape Charles. There's a lot of people I've worked with in the past on city council, and I am proud of all the work that the citizen volunteers do. Our wonderful staff. It's a thankless job, and I think on a night like tonight, I want to thank all of you for leaving your families, spending blood, sweat, and tears on the campaign trail, and doing what you do. Don't agree with everything you guys do. Looking at you, James. And then also the past members of council as
I think
well.
the comments are supposed to be made to the entire council. Not
Fair. I never was a rule follower. So, anyway, I just wanted to say, I appreciate everyone's opinion. This is a complex issue. It got heated, and I think this is the forum where we have these conversations and learn from it and grow. So it's not always going to go your way. It's politics. And just want to love and support from one constituent to you guys for what you do. Thank you.
Anybody else? Going once? You sure? Going twice? Citizens hearings closed. Moving on. This is now the council member comments, and if y'all will give me a little bit of leeway here. This is a tough decision that we've got coming up here. And I don't mean it just from a tough decision. I think, Bob, I'll paraphrase you. It's complex. And I've come to the belief that there are kind of two truths that are true. And one is that a really bad, tragic event took place that nearly brought a 9-year-old boy to close to meeting his maker. And for that standpoint, I think we all should respect that. And from what I've heard from even people who are saying that they may have the more issue with process than with the issue, that is true, and that those individuals should be heard and their concerns should be respected. The other truth is, and I hear some of the comments that are said, but there's probably two people up here, and I'm one of them, who personally knew Chris Reed, personally worked with him. He was my friend. We did things very on. I was the mayor back in 2000 to 2004. So I worked very closely with him. And here is another truth. He contributed greatly to the community, contributed greatly to the city. I think most people know him through his police service. I knew him also through his military service. I think he was a police chief in 2 cities, as well as our city managers. So I hear sometimes criticism coming from people who really didn't personally know him, and I did. And I believe that the recognition that occurred to have him in as the dog park, it may have been something that was available, but I really do not believe it comes even close to what he represented and what he really truly liked to contribute. And I'd like to fix that. And from that standpoint, as we go into this, I can assure you, the people who said or took it at face value around what I said, is I do believe that there's a process here. But I do believe the families who've been hurt have to be respected. And I appreciate both of the families coming, because I considered the Barrett family friends, and I considered Chris was my friend. So let's just be adults. Let's look at the things here and make sure that we recognize people for the contributions that they make. And I'll go from there.
I'm next.
Paula?
A hard one to follow, and I agree with everything that Phil says. I know Chris more from school district stuff. But that being said, I'm very hopeful that we're going to solve this problem and how it was listed on the agenda. I can see why it's concerning to people, but I feel pretty confident that this council will solve the problem. So I want to move on then to, in this meeting, I want to move on to the fire station and the open house. I had to drag my 3-year-old grandson away because he was enjoying it so much. And I had no idea that they put on food and everything that went on that night. So I just want to say thank you to them. It was a great event and I appreciate it. That's it for me.
All right. All I have to say is I want people to treat each other kindly, look at the other person's perspective. It seems like every time something goes on that raises a lot of activity in this neighborhood, there are 2 completely different sides to every story, and I just want people to think about what the other side is thinking.
All right, again, with the fire department here at open house, my mom was able to come down and visit. She lives in Atascocita, and they don't really do that up there, so she was very thankful, and she thought it was very unique that we got to get together, see the firehouse. It was a lot of fun. My daughter enjoyed it as well. Also, I just want to mention, I'm sure Michelle's going to bring it up as well, fall sweep, is that my time? I was going to say fall sweep. No, fall sweep, November 4th. If you can come out there and volunteer, that'd be great. I'll be painting curbs. Queens Court has gotten almost done, but if you want to come help paint some curbs, we would enjoy your volunteering. So thanks.
I would like to echo Bob and Rod, great job with the fire department. I'd say 3 years ago, it was not a great showing and there was a lot of burgers that I had to eat with 4 or 5 other people. But man, has it grown, and it was fantastic to see everybody there. I will have to say that we need to have that noise ordinance put in place at the fire station for the kids, because man, they were louder than the sirens. But I really commend you guys. It's fantastic to see everybody out there. It's a great community event, as we should be doing with that. Like to let everybody know that tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. up here, there's a public safety meeting, do it every month, third Tuesday of every month. I'll be here. If you want to come, love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your concerns on public safety. I think it's important that we look into the things that make our city safe. With that, I would like to highlight that not only do we need volunteers for the fun run, the Walt Cunningham fun run, that would be fantastic, but the 21st is probably historic across the city of Nassau Bay, because we're going to have more events than we've ever had in our jurisdiction. From the Walt Cunningham Run to the Paddle for PTSD to St. Thomas to St. Paul's to, am I missing? There's a couple other ones that are going on, but I think it's really good to see all that we do in the community. And we got the, Candy, what?
Halloween in the.
Oh, Halloween party, yeah, that too. I'm sitting there because of like, morning is packed and then evening's packed, so Halloween in the park is gonna be a blast. And it's great to see that we have a fantastic community. The kids come out, you get to see them out, you get to see them smiling, having a good time, which is fantastic. I would like to highlight something that I know is a concern, and since public safety is my thing, we do need to be cognizant of the folks in other jurisdictions dropping off patients at Methodist. We've had a couple situations where I've been called in the evening and I've showed up to help with either someone that has had a mental challenge or a breakdown, or a homeless person. Nassau Bay, we didn't have those before, but we have them now. I'd like to commend Gloria Day in regards to what they're putting together. I believe it's Dolce Vita, is that right?
Novo.
Novo Vita, thank you. Always think of a good life, I don't know why. But Novo Vita, and I have spoken to some other folks in churches that might want to be involved in that too. So I volunteered to be a person on the council to help with that, because I think those are things we owe to people in our community. So I want to say thank you to everybody coming out tonight. I think that, as the mayor has said, there's some difficult decisions to be made, but if it was this politics and being on council was easy, we'd be done and gone at home right now, and I'd be doing my 9-year-old's homework. So I will pass it on to my fellow council members.
I have some thoughts on agenda item 9.6, the dog park issue, but I'm gonna save all that for when we get to that agenda item. We went to the TML conference, everyone forgot about that, or most of us did, in early October. I think it was the first time Nassau Bay had ever attended, I don't know, Zena can tell us. But learned a lot of things, or first time council members have attended, I suppose. Learned a lot of things. I kind of targeted the small city seminars. That's definitely us. And heard some inspiring things as well. So I took away some great information at that. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to go. Thank God for rain, but does it need to be so dramatic? I mean, that last one was horrendous. I couldn't even get into the neighborhood with my kids in the car. And luckily I had a bunch of bananas and like some clementine oranges sitting next to me. I was worried I was gonna be stuck in the front side of the neighborhood for some time. We have so many events coming up, a lot on October 21st, the Paddle Peninsula, and the Walt Cunningham Family Fun Run, and then also Halloween in the park that evening, which Lucy wrote me into like face painting, I don't know. No guarantees on what everyone's gonna look like. Firehouse Open House was awesome. My kids always enjoy that. So, especially I really appreciated the obstacle course because it really wore them out all the time. So, nothing else to add, but I will be speaking more on the dog park issue later. It is a very difficult issue, and I think it deserves lots of thought.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, I was gonna remind everybody that Halloween in the Park and Lateral, everybody knows how great that event is. I am gonna be face painting. And I have surgery tomorrow, so if I still feel well, I'll be face painting on the weekend. But yeah, it's gonna be a great event. Lucy's been doing a good job on that. And then, yes, we do have all those other wonderful events. I'm so excited for our neighborhood that we do all these kind of cool things all the time. And I wanted to also mention about the TML conference. That was great. We learned a lot. We were able to get a lot of information about spending hot funds and a lot of other things. It was really cool, and Nathan was there with us and Zena. And I'll have more to say about the dog park issue. I have the parks update, and I'm the chairman of the Parks and Rec, and I also will talk about it when it comes up to the agenda items. So I won't spend too much time about that right now. But what else did I say? So that's it for right now.
Then I'll end up with one last comment because I really wanted to give a shout out. You know, I like to give a shout out. I got a good tour of the boathouse at that's going to go at the end of Leeward Lane. And I'll tell you one thing: the volunteer fire department did one hell of a job putting that together. It is going to definitively attract other groups like the Coast Guard, other Parks and Wildlife to come into our area and help patrol and help us with safety. So everybody who's been involved with that boathouse. How long, Ron? 2 years? It looks fantastic, so shout out to those guys. And then we'll move on. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've only been here a little more than a month. One thing I feel really confident about saying is that we have really good staff here. And I want to make sure everybody knew that one of our staff members had his 46th anniversary last Wednesday, and that is Reyes Cruz Jr. In the Public Works Department. And that just blows my mind. Every time I think about that, I'm just very, very thankful for him. And so he's not here tonight, maybe he can watch us later, Paul, and we'll make sure that if you see him out and about, please congratulate him because that's a lot of good years with him, so just we appreciate that. I also wanted to thank Chief George and everyone at the fire department for the event on Friday. He mentioned he thought we had about 350 people there. And staff puts in so much work for that, but it doesn't really matter if people don't come, and so many people came. So I really, really appreciated the chance to see that event for the first time as well. Just want to let you know, we've declared war on mosquitoes. We are spraying mosquitoes twice a week. Paul is our lead general in that work. But we are doing mosquito spraying at least 2 nights a week, maybe 3 depending on conditions. And Public Works is handling that. We'll be able to cut down on that annoyance that has gotten worse here over the last few weeks. Our council members mentioned the Texas Municipal League Conference. That was especially helpful to me as a new manager here in Texas. Lots of breakout sessions, lots of things relevant to us. So I really appreciated that. And I'm not gonna reread all the events this weekend. I hope you come out. I get to judge, I think, everyone's children for their costumes. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But that's all I have. I'll turn it over to staff reports.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens. Police report for September crime stats. We had answered 304 calls for service, 63 reports, 166 traffic stops, 86 citations, 107 written or verbal warnings, 19 arrests, total of 15 of those were misdemeanors, 4 were felonies, covered a total of 4,717 patrol miles, and our average response time was 2.62 minutes. So real quickly, a couple of recognitions. Officer CJ Kreider is back here, celebrated his 2-year anniversary with Nassau Bay on September 17th. On October 15th, Corporal Donald Linder's not here, but he celebrated his 9-year anniversary on his second stint with us. He's been here once before, took a little hiatus and came back. Real quickly, wanted to point out that the state of Texas has begun distributing, process of distributing naloxone, or better known as Narcan, through the Texas Department of Emergency Management as part of the state's opioid lawsuit settlement. We put it in order. We received an allotment of Narcan in addition to what we had previously received from Councilman Abbey. So as part of the lawsuit settlement, we've also spent funds, and all the officers are now outfitted with carriers on their carriers. Mike, you can show where yours is. We've got them on all everybody has them. And so rather than having the Narcan in the cars, we now have them on all the officers readily available if needed. This week is National School Bus Safety Week, and Nassau Bay PD has partnered with some of the other area local law enforcement agencies serving the CCISD bus routes with a social media campaign reminding drivers you need to stop in school buses when they're loading and unloading. Yes, it is the law. And real quickly, upcoming on the October 28th, not this week when everything's busy, but next week, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we'll be participating with the DEA on the drug take back. We'll have a drop off out here in front of the City Hall from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can drive by and drop off your unused prescription medications, and we'll take those and dispose of them. The only things we cannot collect are pills or, liquids or needles or sharps, because DEA will not take those. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief, if I can real quick, thank you very much for the update on the Narcan and that.
Yes, sir.
But there's another critical event I think that you have not highlighted that I think needs to come public, which is pumpkins with a policeman.
Pumpkins with
And I want to make sure that those pumpkins might be procured from maybe a patch that might be in the local jurisdiction, or at least plug that.
We'll have to, I need some more information on that.
Perfect, that would be great. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman.
One more before you
Yes.
sit down. On a little bit more serious of a note, I noticed in the police report you sent out, there was an incident in a hotel One of the reasons why we wanted to get the patches in Narcan was because of the influx of drugs. One of those incidents involved methamphetamine, which I'm sure everyone knows is a very serious drug. There's a lot of pipes involved with that as well. And that was at a hotel, assuming that's somebody that's coming in from, I'm sure you don't have them off the top of your head. People coming in out of our city. Is that the hotels, is that one hotspot? Are you seeing a lot of action with regard to drugs and violations happening there at the hotels?
No more than usual.
And are you guys doing anything with regard to those hotels? Is there more crime happening at the hotels than in the city limits? Is what I guess I'm trying to get at.
It depends on the hotel.
Okay. Is there anything that you guys are doing to maybe keep a close eye on those, keep an officer?
Yeah, the officers have extra, they make extra patrols on areas they know are more active.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
okay, thank you.
And just for, just to reassess, just go back to something from the last council meeting, is that we are looking at revisiting we have for multi-home, but with these hotels that are long-term stay, I know that they turn into a little bit of a problem every now and then. Looking at that and work with management so that we can help them mitigate that risk that Councilman Orwell brought up. So I know that that's something that we're talking about, at least going back to as a council. Just a point there, and Chief, I appreciate your comments on that. You know, we decided to go through and do that.
Okay, thank you.
Rod?
Evening, Mayor and Council. Matt and the Chief are prior committed tonight, so I'll give you the stats first. 35 calls last month. We have 39 on the roster, 1,630 standby hours, which is the equivalent of 9.6 FTE at the station. It's a good number. Help with our ISO. Our biggest event of the year for the station was the open house. We had just under 350 people, lots and lots of children this year. That's probably the most children we've ever had. And the volume level spoke of it.
It was great.
I don't have children. Not used to being around children, but it was loud. But it was a good turnout, and we're really glad to do it for the public. And we invite everybody always come by and see the station. Any questions? Thank you.
Great job, though.
Oh.
Good evening. A lot of good things for the month of September, Public Works, even though it's a little cool now, it wasn't cold in September, so we had 12 major breaks that we repaired. We wrapped up the FEMA wastewater plant sand filter project. It was inspected, passed by FEMA. Currently, we have 30 out of 34 street areas repaired. It was 31, but we added about 3 more. With the heat and the drought, we're starting to see some more problems in the streets. The lake NASA pump house was rehabilitated. The wastewater plant got a new handrail project. That was a pretty big project. The stormwater SCADA system was complete, and actually we were able to monitor all the rain events, so that was really good for us. All the generators have been serviced for the quarterlies, and David Braun Park got 2 new bleachers installed, 200 feet of new 2-inch water line for future trees, and the water fountain. And then we did hire a new utility maintenance worker. Actually had 2 water breaks on the first day, so he was he got in right at the beginning. We were able to trim all the trees at David Braun Park as far as the palm trees. And then beginning this week, we have a massive tree trimming project that's kicking off tomorrow. Around the city, we have removed all the extra grass at the Howard Ward Trail today, and we'll be getting 40 tons of crushed granite tomorrow. That may go up to about 72 tons. And then the Swan Lagoon Park, the vendors were out there today demoing. And so we hopefully at the end of the month, it'll be completed. I would give it an extra couple weeks.
Paul, I was out there driving and I saw, is that the bridge that goes from David Braun over to Founders? It looks like you guys repaired it, or?
Yes, so the entire bridge, we tried to repair it, but the 2x12s are just in bad shape. So we actually did a couple substructure repairs, and then the entire top was redone.
Thank you, that was great.
And then we're also working with the Garden Club a lot, this month, to do some things. So, yeah, we're happy for that. Get some new nice signs put in and stuff. So that's about all I have.
Paul, just real quick, I want to thank you guys for updating the signs of the park. They look much, much better. Now they've been renewed, you can read them. So thank you for taking the time to do that. And appreciate if there's any chance that we can get some 25-mile-an-hour signs put up on Upper Bay, on Lookout and Nasa Bay Drive. That would be lovely.
Something as well, the dog park, I know we're gonna be talking about that later. You know, all the whole park, David Braun, the dog park, all that looks great. My wife and I did a walk the other day, I think it was last Saturday or something like that. Went down past the dog park, down past the fields. The bleachers look amazing. The whole park really looks really good. So we really appreciate that. We like to take our walks. We like to have our dogs out there. And then also, just wanted to mention that the bridge, you're understating it. It looks so good.
Yeah, I want to give you
Yeah.
kudos for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to give you kudos for that, because you did not, you don't brag. Yeah, it is
Really
awesome.
brag
I
on that.
wanted to let everybody know you did that.
My wife and I brought it up at Parks meeting a few months ago, and how bad it was getting. And when we walked past that, we were like shocked. We were like, oh my God, it looks so nice. And I feel like it's bigger. It looks really nice, very reinforced. So I just want to say thanks for all the work you're doing out there in the park, and then along with the bridge as well.
Yeah. And Paul, I just want to say, and going to some of the comments that were said earlier, the strategy of this city has been to really do the reinvestment in infrastructure, in all aspects of our parks, our streets. And your group is the one that's really the point of that spear. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have called me about just how the streets have been repaired, how they look, how the park looks, as you mentioned. Now we're going into the tree trimming. Just some of the things that have been done has come through you and your group. And I just want to say thank you, because that's been really important for this council that has really wanted to catch up on the repairs that have been needed in the city. And your group has done it. Thank you.
I call them immortals.
The way I look at it is we get you the money and you sure find out how to spend it. So, that's great.
Hello, council. So code enforcement, all of the large eyesores and very obvious things that were apparent when we first started this has pretty much been taken care of and under control. The last jump cars that we had throughout the neighborhoods are gone. So that's pretty much on just a maintenance. I find violations through the week, signs, campers, boats, and it's very easy to manage. But my big project here about the last 12 days has been the business registration. So this is a process that's gonna take a couple of months. It's basically having to be rebuilt, I believe. Worked very closely with Zena. We've had to do a lot of verbiage change for welcome letters to business owners in the city. And there was just a lot of things that were broken. So one of the main things that were broken, and the reason that the city has not seen any dividends come from that, is because the settings in the system of the MyGov were off. So I can track it back as far as 2007, and it shows that we had 493 registered businesses. And the reason nobody ever renewed was the setting was for 25 years. So even the people that have registered in 07, it says they don't need anything till like 2035, 2037. So we're having to go into each one of those and manually change it so that we fall upon this annual inspection, which our whole purpose was. So just the last 10 days, most of my efforts have only been concentrated on 4 buildings, 1100, 1110, 1120, and then 1322. And the reason that I chose that was they're managed by Boxer. And Boxer has the ability to send out mass emails to all the tenants and let them know, hey, you need to have a business registration. Well, a lot of these people, it's not their fault, they don't know. These large businesses, they only rent suites. So it's one person, they rent it, 5 years, they move in, and they don't need a CO. They don't think they need anything to register with the city, which they don't. They do. So just in the 3 buildings in the last 10 days, I've found 107 businesses that's not been registered.
107.
107, and that's only those 4 buildings.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything else. So out of the 107, we actually had 38 businesses already paid, so that's $3,800. So there's invoices out there that total up to around $11,000. And so a lot of them know that they're giving them grace to the end of the month, and then we'll be on track. So everything's going good. It's just very hard. Every business has to have a personal touch to get cleaned up in order to get the system back.
Just another metric is just how many vehicles do you think you affected to be removed?
20. Yeah. 20. Found a camper last week. People living in a camper back in the city, and just things like that. So, everything's good.
So I'm gonna ask you a question. Great job, by the way, fantastic. I know that we talked a little bit about how, and I think Lucy brought this up too, where a lot of the commercial space, in case people don't know, where they don't have the lines painted in the parking, they don't have the reds painted on the curb or it's falling off. That's part of what you're eventually gonna get to
Yes.
once you get all the training and stuff finished. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll go around with those. Can you tell us a little bit about how you've been handling that, or you're not on that part right now?
I'm not at that part yet, but you can drop by the extended stay and they restriped their parking lot.
So you told them to restripe and they did?
They heard that they needed to have it.
And then I'm gonna ask you one more thing. I'm gonna keep asking it because it's been going on since, before I got on council. So what's the update on the Sapphire? Last time we talked, the last meeting,
So
we had a complaint about the roof and then you were gonna get an inspection?
So we've been instructed, Tony Russo and myself, to get an inspection started. But, so that is in our plan this week to go there together, and perform the inspection as a life and safety inspection that we can look at everything.
Okay, great. And last time you mentioned the tire marks, I haven't gone by there to see are they gone?
You're gone.
Good job, thank you.
Thanks.
So, I'm gonna ask a quick question. Is there anything going on with that residence on Massimo Bay Drive? The one that's boarded up? I don't know. I've had several citizen complaints about it.
Oh.
It's the one on
The one
the end of
that's-
the neighborhood?
Yeah, I saw the boards go up. I'm not quite sure what's going on with it.
Okay. I just wanted to know if there's anything.
I haven't seen any activity.
Yes, for a long time.
I can say that they have put rocks in front as a type of driveway, which is new. It wasn't there a week or two ago.
If I can, so I have to drive by that every day when I go home. And I think they started putting that up so that they can prevent people from stealing the piping that they're putting inside there. So I think that, I told my wife, I was like, that hospital can be built where that house is. And so far, I'm right, that house is taking a little while, but I think that's the reason why they did that.
Yeah, because I know the Moody Center have got hit pretty hard. Yeah. With copper pipes. Yeah.
And you can tell me it's probably because you're very well versed in our ordinances now probably, but is there a timeline that we give people in their building homes, like hey, get this done with this, when, no timeline? So this could take another 5 years. Okay. Just wondering.
Something to consider.
Yes. We might be considering that.
Okay. On to the consent agenda. If you see, there's 4 different items on here, which was the minutes from August 14th, the minutes from the budget workshop on September 11th, also the special council meeting minutes on September 25th, as well as the final reading. This would be the second reading. You already seen here the establishing the water and sewer rates. It's going to be our final reading that will bring it into a reality.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I'd like to take consideration, if we could look at 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 as combining them, because 7.4, since it is a second reading, it does need to be read. I believe we could move forward a little faster because
The second round is supposed to be read.
And Mayor, point of clarity, there's minutes in here for September 11th, 2023, and they're not listed on the agenda, so.
Yes, they are.
But that says budget workshop minutes, and then this is a regular council meeting minutes, so I don't really understand if, was it named incorrectly maybe on the agenda?
It may be.
Yes.
So we
Okay, so then I would
have to pull those.
ask to pull those aside
Yeah, I agree with that.
or edit we can edit the name of them to regular council minutes. And, on item 9.7, where we're talking about the EDC appointment, I would ask that my name be listed in there as the person that brought up to follow the bylaws of EDC. Because I'm not referenced in that section. There was quite a lengthy discussion in there.
It was.
Mayor, I second that.
Yeah, let's second it. Yeah, it's seconded. Okay.
I also just want
So,
to get some clarity on the.
I just want to make sure we're here, so that means we're pulling out the 7.2. We are moving forward with 7.1, 7.3 with the modifications by Councilwoman Horton. And then we have to read the 7.4 or
The caption.
the caption.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mayor, with regard to 7.1 with the regular city council meeting August 14, just want to make sure it's not an error. We did this was go back and forth, but in the consent agenda, there's 6.6 and twice. There's two 6.6s and then the rest of the December. I just want to make sure that that's accurate. On the August 14th meeting, if you look at the consent agenda in that meeting.
It was on the meeting of August 14th and we pulled it for correction.
And that's exactly the way it looked in that council.
We pulled the minutes, they were on the agenda in August,
And then we pull them and
then
then
we
they.
pulled them and we put them back on once we corrected for this meeting. Usually we do an amendment, but we were asked to pull, make the corrections and bring them back to council.
But what I'm saying is in that August 14th meeting, there's 6.6 listed twice. Is that accurate?
It's just a formatting issue. It was duplicated. It should be 6.7 and then go on down, correct?
Okay, so we just need to correct that.
So we would amend that with, any motion that we've made.
Correct?
Yeah, we can amend that with any motion.
So just whatever it was, who moved to, was that you, Councilman? And then you seconded
Yes,
it,
sir.
right?
And I'd amend mine to include Councilman, Warwell's amendment of the 6.6 and
The formatting.
6.7.
The formatting.
Yes.
Okay, then we're gonna do here, and then I'll read the ordinance for the water rates. This is ordinance number 2023-09-11-A, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances at Chapter 20, the utilities and services establishing water and sewer rates provided and details related thereto. Does that satisfy what you need, Councilor?
Yes.
And I'd like to maintain that in the consent agenda, so I assume that's in the motion. Any other questions, any other comments? Then I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Moving on to the committee reports, the Parks and Recreation.
Hi, I'm Michelle Weller, for those of you that don't know, and I'm the chair of the Parks and Recreation and the Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful Committee. We meet every month. This month we're meeting on the 25th, and I invite everyone, as I do every single council meeting, to come out and join us and listen to what we have to say. They do, at the committee meetings, we do have a 3-minute citizens request to, hear before the Parks Committee. That's just like open meetings, normal open meeting stuff. And a citizen did come up and tell us about this horrific dog attack. And you'll get a chance to hear that story later. So a lot of people are making assumptions without actually hearing the whole story. I just wanted to bring that up because these people on the Parks Committee are great, great, great people. They work very hard. They don't get paid. And a lot of these things that we're talking about, like Chase with painting the numbers and Nancy Lynn with putting up Swan Lagoon and the Astros event with Ron Ford and Royce Walker, who does the garden club and works on the Parks and Recreation Committee. April Schneider did the moon trees and with Michelle Borecki and so many more things that we've done, beautification day, different events. And when they heard the story, they all voted unanimously to change the dog park name. And I understand some people said they didn't like the way it was put on the agenda. And basically, I turned it over, said we're gonna put it on the agenda. I had no control over how it ends up on here. So I don't think that we should be pointing fingers. People are working as hard as they can here. None of us get paid to sit up here. We've dedicated, some people like me, by 24/7, I mean, like James said, he spends more time with the council than he does on his own job. So I just want to preface that before we get into the longer stuff. I won't say anything else, but that's how it happened. And you'll get to hear the story too, because maybe you'll understand why you made the decision that you did. But one thing that did not happen is not one person reached out to me or anybody on the Parks Committee to talk about this. Instead, they went to social media and
You blocked
comes
something
here.
about social media.
Anyway, point of
Yeah, point of order. Point of order here, please. I mean, one of the things here is there was very much respect for when the citizens have when there's citizens doing things and when they're supposed to speak or when they do not.
She married a convicted registered
So,
sex offender and brought him to live in the community. Do y'all know that?
So, okay, anyway, I just wanted to say that because I think there were some people that came up and said we need to respect each other and end this division. And I totally agree with that. And I'm trying to do the best I can to make sure that that happens, but, I don't know Chris Reed, I didn't meet him, I know a lot of people that came up and spoke were friends of his and know him and work with him, but I didn't, I didn't know how any of this was handled, and I apologize if it hurt anybody, but I do think that, you'll hear more about it, and I'll speak more about it when that comes up, but to talk about all the positive and wonderful things that this committee is doing, I wanna make sure that, you guys all know about it, because they've done such a great job. So a lot of what Paul was talking about was things that we had brought up in the committee, fixing the bridge and taking care of the Howard Ward path. I don't know if any of you have been out on the Howard Ward path, it's getting a little overgrown with weeds. That's gonna be fixed up. Thank you for taking care of that, Paul. And also the Swan Lagoon playground equipment, what we're planning on is we're gonna have a ribbon cutting ceremony, something for the kids. We'll do that once the playground equipment is all set up. So that's gonna be exciting. We also talked about a list of things that we wanted to accomplish over the next year and stuff that actually went into the budget. So I'll go over that, but the first thing is fall sweep. We were gonna do it for 2 days, but because I have to have surgery and a couple other people had some medical issues, we're gonna just change it to the 4th. So on the 4th of November, we're going to meet at 8 o'clock to 8:30 at the pavilion, as always. And we'll have some donuts, kolaches, coffee, and then we'll go out and we are going to affect the normal gardens that we have around the city, up on Upper Bay Road, the ones in Howard Ward Park, the Founders Park, and down by the pavilion. We're also gonna support the garden club in their gardens, the Tranquility, Reflection, the Circle Garden, and the Butterfly Garden in Swan Lagoon. And we're just gonna put out some flowers and then also help Chase, if anybody wants to help paint. We are gonna be getting service hours too. So if you want some Boy Scouts to come and get some service hours, or you want to have, anybody who needs them, or just want to come out and have fun and help, at around 11 o'clock, we're gonna have a bounce house for the kids, popcorn, and we will do some pizza also for the volunteers that help out. So come out and help out with that. We would really appreciate it. As you see things the flowers are looking pretty good, so I think we're just gonna replace them with some pansies and Dusty Miller and just kind of clean up the beds. And a shout out to Nancy Lynn, who went out this weekend and cleaned all the weeds out of the beds on Upper Bay. So anyway, going on to the plans that we have for the next year, because Paul covered a lot of the stuff that was done. We have the baseball field up and running, and then we have the path that is built, but we have to get lines put on it. So we have directional lines and paths for walkers, and then they have the water fountain going in over there. It's gonna be a bottle filling water fountain. So that's kind of exciting. And we also have the sign project. We talked about it last time. Some of our council members mentioned it as well. If you see any kind of dilapidated sign around the neighborhood, we're gonna go ahead and, just email me, michelle.weller@nassaumbay.com. And Paul's been really good about getting those replaced around the city. You'll see some of the signs are getting replaced, so that's great. The other thing that we put on the list, and this is in no particular order, the garden club wants to do a native garden out by the Reflection Garden on the way to the peninsula. So we're gonna be helping them with that. We're going to also put on the agenda for the next year that on San Sebastian to replace all those flowers that were there in the trees. So that's gonna be happening. And we have a lot of different people on the parks who are gonna be like spearheading each one of these committees. We wanna have some murals, we want a space theme and sort of Nassau Bay mural on the bathroom. And then also the wraps, I think we talked about that over and over again, to wrap those electrical boxes out on Nassau Road 1 next to the Wendy's and like at each entrance with some artwork. Royce is gonna be spearheading that too. We're gonna plant another moon tree probably in the spring to manage all the moon trees that are going on the path and Dave Braun, and we'll name it after another astronaut that lived in Nassau Bay. We are going to renovate the basketball court, so we'll be happy about that. We're gonna put an astronaut statue out here where the moon trees are. So eventually that'll be like a pathway with the, nice bench and table, and then the trees grow over it, and you have a statue of an astronaut that will be celebrating everybody who has either lived in Nassau Bay and worked at NASA or was, an astronaut that went to the moon or to space. And so we have a lot of those, and we're gonna put that on the flag on the bottom of the astronaut statue, so that's coming up. There was a soccer pitch that's put on the agenda. Also, they wanted to do some renovation on the pickleball court and possibly add another pickleball court where the kind of empty space is right now. There's a rocket splash pad. We've been talking about this for a while. When I went to TML, there was some people there that actually designed the rocket, and we were talking to them if they had used hot funds before with any other city, and they told us they did. So we're gonna be exploring that some more to see if we can do some kind of special artwork for the rocket, and then it will become art, and it can be part of the hot funds. We also discussed putting a park over on Davon Lane. That's something that is gonna be discussed as we go forward. The First Responders Park, which is next to where the boat is, on Leeward Lane, we wanna put some flowers back in there because it looked kind of run down after they tore down the condos and just left it there. So we wanna put back some flowers, some palm trees, and make that area really nice over there on Leeward Lane. And then we're gonna try to have some more events. In December, we're gonna have wreath making at the December City Council meeting, and afterwards, we're gonna go caroling with the people on the committee, and you're all welcome to come and join us and do that. So that's kind of it for right now. That's a lot. It's a big, ambitious list to do for the next year, but everybody's really on board and excited about it, and we have a really great committee. I don't want anything with this dog park I don't want any of them to be, hassled for this, because it's just not fair to them. And I guess you'll see when you hear the version of the story that we heard. So thank you very much.
Next on the item is the special events committee.
All right, so coming up this weekend, we have Halloween in the park. We're gonna have the hayride. There will be a DJ with fun dancing in the costumes as part of the costume contest at the pavilion. We have games, we have crafts and face painting. There'll also be a haunted trail and a few trunk or treat opportunities there as well. And it should be a good time. I know we're gonna have a lot of fun setting it up and getting ready for it. So please come out and support us and have fun and get some candy. And the other item that we have coming up is Holiday in the Park on December 9th. It sounds like maybe we can get something with the gazebo going. And the fact that Howard Ward Park is going to be in tip-top shape at that point in time is also very exciting. So thank you for that. That's all I have.
That'll work. Moving on to agenda item number 9, and this is going to be a long one here, folks. The new business, which is 9.1, public hearing. Request from the Jaspreet Singh Smokies Vape and Smoke Shop to consider a specific use permit to conduct a vaporizing store at 1400 East Nassau Parkway, Suite B, Houston, Texas, 77058, as described as in Resolution A, Nassau Bay Business Park 73.
We've got generators, I promise. We got generators.
Yeah, so.
I think it's because it's an off night for the council meeting.
129 square feet of land with 15,691 square feet approved in the building. It is 8:51. Public hearing is open. Hope to get some lights.
And comments.
Anyone?
Is there anybody, I mean, this has been talked about a lot. This is at the end of the process. This is, right now, this has gone through the planning commission, and the planning commission has recommended unanimously to not provide a specific use permit here. So if there's any further questions or that, I would, will be entertaining them from the citizens. Going once? Going twice? Let there be light. 3 times, I'm closing the public hearing. It is 9:52 or 8:52. The next agenda item is the discussion action on a request for Jasprit Singh Smokies Vape and Smoke Shop to consider a specific use permit to conduct a vaporizing store at 1400 East NASA Parkway, Suite B, Houston, Texas, 77058, as described in Resolution A, Nassau Bay Business Park 73, 129 square feet of land with 15,691 square feet of improved building.
Mayor, it would take a vote of 3/4 of council to contradict the Hobbill recommendation of the planning commission. If you, it would only take a majority to approve, it takes 3/4 to disagree with the planning commission on this matter.
I don't think we're gonna have a problem.
I don't think so either,
But I do appreciate the clarity as to the legal requirements.
Yes, sir.
Any questions here? Any other comments that people have?
Mr. Mayor, just a question is, do we have any representatives here from, Mr. Jasprit sent here in the chamber?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe so.
I want to say one thing, that I was there at the planning committee meeting. I spoke as a citizen, and there was like at least 10 or 15 people that stood up and were against it when they made that decision. So it was really overwhelming.
I'll say it differently because I get a little bit of a humor. I've not had one person stand up and say, we need to have a smoke shop in our city. So then I'm gonna call for the vote. Oh, no, excuse me, I'd like to call for a motion.
I would like to motion that, we deny the, sorry, that we accept the recommendations of the planning committee, in relation to the, their decision in regards to a, Smokies Vape and Smoke Shop, and a special use permit, for 1400 East Nassau Parkway, Suite B, Houston, Texas, 77058, as described as Resolution A, Nassau Bay Business Park, 73129 SF, of land with 15,691 square feet, improved building.
Second.
Moved by James, seconded by Michelle. Again, any last comments, any last things? Then I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0, which means this has been denied. Good work. The next agenda item, and I appreciate his patience, is the discussion action for resolution number 2023-10-16 in support of passage of the constitutional proposition number 8 to provide funding for the next general 911 services. Mark?
Mayor, council, citizen staff, I think I have a subject that everybody would support. One is 911 emergency service. I sit on the board for the Greater Harris County 911 system, and that represents all citizens in Harris County and Fort Bend, about 5.4 million people. And the responsibility of our committee is to make sure the technology works, the training of staff, and just that follow up to make sure that systems continue to work regardless of what's going on in our environment. This Proposition 8 is going to provide a pathway to provide funding to allow us to finally one day reach Apple and Google status and being able to determine where you are when you dial 911. We're pretty good right now, but we're still a long ways. The problem is that we're underfunded, and we will be, because right now the rate set that pays for 911 service was set back in 1997 at 50 cents a month. So you're paying $6 a year for 911 service. that was set back in 1997. There's no vehicle to allow that rate to increase because the state legislature has not allowed us to take it up. This allows us to use surplus funds, 36 billion plus from the state of Texas, plus ARP funds from the American Rescue Act, plus the other funds the government has provided. And the state felt like it's better for the citizens to vote for it, to approve it. So it's not a tax increase, but what it will is give us the next generation technology to allow us to continue to be better when you dial 911. So keep in mind, our 911 service in Harris County is the second largest in the country. So we have a lot of funding opportunities, but rural districts around the state do not have what we have. And they're still on analog in some situations. So this money will go equally apportioned to areas around the state of Texas.
And if you give me a little bit of liberty here, Mark, because I want to, the resolution was very clear on this. And it's a resolution to support the creation of a infrastructure fund, modify the Constitution in order to be able to provide this. And it would be specifically for the general fund to expand high-speed broadband access throughout the whole state of Texas and assist in the financing of connectivity. And it would particularly establish $155 million out of the surplus funds without a tax increase in dedicating for that statewide implementation for the next generation 911 services.
Correct.
Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Yep.
And so we have to amend the Constitution, and going forward, this will now be a fund that's funded each year by the state legislature. It doesn't require a fee increase on your phone, but it requires the legislators, just like they fund schools and other important entities. So we no longer have to go out there and beat our head trying to figure out how we can raise money, because we now hit a plateau with this long-term 50 cents a month that we cannot change. And so by approving this amendment to the Constitution, it serves a problem, and forever we'll have great service, especially in rural areas. Not so much ours, because we have next gen now. You know, 911 Harris County is one of the leaders in the country. We just adopted technology to now Texas, and so we're one of the leaders in the country in technology. But it's more for rural Texas. But it helps us to continue to advance our ability to find you when you dial 911. So I'm asking council to approve the resolution.
I believe this is a worthy effort.
Yeah.
I believe that we should support this. Any questions for Mark?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate it. Then I'd like to have a motion for approval of this proposition.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we are going to pass resolution 2023-10-16 in support of passage of constitutional proposition number 8 to provide funding the next general 911 services.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Paula. Any other further discussion? And I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Thank you, Mark. Next agenda item, Paul, I know you're coming up here, is the discussion and action awarding the bid for the blower replacement at the wastewater plant.
Yes, sir, this is my blower, at the wastewater plant. The, single stage blower that we currently have is damaged beyond repair. The project involves the replacement of the existing blower, the gearless blower, turbo blower. We did get 3 bids, the new blower is officially reliable. We replaced the old blower about 20 years old. So this is to award the bid to C3 Contractors LLC for the blower replacement of the wastewater plant for $175,000. This is part of the aeration system.
This is a critical piece to this
Yes.
whole operation of the water treatment.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Sure. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by.
Need to read the motion? Award bid to C3 Contractors.
I don't believe so.
Okay, just read
I
it.
think he's asking for awarding it, we're allowing it. So, moved by James, second by Chase. And just to be, add a little clear, this is, funds from last year's budget.
Yes.
Not this
It's brought
current year.
forward. Yes,
This is
sir.
a carry forward from last year, so this is all budgeted items. So, any other discussion, any other comments?
Paul, do you know when it would start and when they finish potentially on that?
We would have to submit the purchase order, but I'll get that.
We get it,
Yes, yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Then I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. The next one is agenda item 9.5, the presentation update of the flock safety system. Chief?
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. We just wanted to give a brief overview of the flock camera, safety camera system that was approved in the budget. And Zena's going to assist me with the PowerPoint. Yeah. Thank you. So, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I think we need that. There you go. No. There we go. All right.
Slow down.
So the reality is, the flock system reality is that we all know that we in all police departments have limited resources. We know that crime is on the rise in our surrounding areas. And the most important thing is the trust that our police, in our police processes and investigation is expected more than ever. So the flock will provide technology which helps multiply, in this case, the eyes of our department and the community. Flock will capture and distribute objective evidence to the right users, that being the police department. The ability to engage our community and grow support using the transparency portal. We'll have a little bit more information about that in just a few minutes towards the end of the presentation. So move on. So when you get flock, what's flock going to do for us? It will provide us, the police department, with indiscriminate evidence from fixed locations. Flock provides all the maintenance so city staff can focus on other projects. These cameras will be set up on utilizing existing poles or systems that are already within the city. If there's not something appropriate for the location, then we'll have to add some poles. Cameras are powered by solar panels, so there's no electrical that needs to be run to these cameras, so there's no infrastructure that we need to worry about. All people can continue to do what they do. It's a capture of the vehicle and the LP information 24 hours, 7 days a week. It sends real-time alerts for vehicles entered into the already systems that we use, TCIC, for law enforcement's existing networks. So it'll send real-time alerts to the officers and to dispatch. Notifications on reported stolen vehicles, amber alerts, civil alerts, any custom hot list that we might develop in the department if we feel that there's one that needs to be developed. It does not capture persons or occupants of the vehicle. It does not perform facial recognition. It's not used for traffic enforcement. It's not a red light camera. It's not a speed camera. Okay? We can move on to the next one. So what is the flock system? It's a license plate recognition system. It gathers license plate images and characters. It gathers information about the color and the make of a vehicle. It sends real-time alerts again for wanted or flagged vehicles to the officers and to dispatch. And it's just simply another tool that we can use to investigate and solve cases. The flock system adheres to all the state laws. So again, going back to what is it not? It does not do facial recognition. Again, it doesn't even capture images of the occupants of the vehicles. It's designed to capture the license plates of the vehicles as they're moving away from the camera. There's no personal identification or identifiable information, or PII, is available in the flock system. Again, it's not used for traffic enforcement. It requires a valid law enforcement or investigative reason to search the data. There will be a policy that will be developed outlining the reasons the system can be used, and documentation will be required to be logged by our officers before they go in and search the system for any information. And this will be for auditing purposes, so we can keep track of why we're going in and grabbing the information. The data, such as LP numbers, vehicle color, the make and images, is only available for 30 days, providing enough time for an investigation. If the data is researched and needed for case information, it will be uploaded from the system to evidence.com, and then it becomes property of the police department and the city to be retained by our department as evidence in cases. For those 30 days, it's in the cloud. It doesn't belong to us. It doesn't belong to anyone unless we research it and pull that information. So protecting privacy, the footage or data that becomes property or evidence of the agency or the city, that being us. Flock does not share or sell the data. The police department, we can determine if we want to share that information with other agencies as needed, as we do with all our other investigative tools and our other investigative evidence that we use. It takes away the human bias in working and solving crimes by detecting events that are objectively illegal, such as stolen vehicles, Amber Alerts, or objectively a welfare concern, such as Silver Alerts. Data is stored securely in an AWS cloud, and the information is encrypted from the service, from FLOC to us, to the user, which is the police department. Again, I'll repeat, search reason is required for any searches in the system by our officers. Facial recognition, not predictive policing, no PII is contained in the FLOC. It's not used for traffic enforcement. It's not connected to registration data or third-party databases like Carfax or the Department of Motor Vehicles. There is a transparency portal that's optional and that will be utilized when we get the system up and running. We go to the next one. So the transparency portal will be available to the general public. And what's on the transparency portal include information such as how the system operates, what policies are, and what is detected and what is not detected. This sample up here that they have is Vallejo, California. It shows Vallejo, California hot lists that is alerted on the California SVS, NECMEX, Amber Alerts. It'll show to the public the vehicles that are detected in the last 30 days. I don't think we'll hit this number, but out in Vallejo, California, they had 514,000 in 30 days. So it does give us a little bit of information that may be useful. How many vehicles are using a certain street on a certain day, but it doesn't give any information about those vehicles unless we research that vehicle and pull it for evidence. How many vehicles are hit in the hot list in the last 30 days? How many searches were conducted in the last 30 days? That will all be available on this portal for the public to see on a real-time basis. But the public will not have access to any of the data or the images. That information is only available through searches that the officers can do. And again, there has to be documentation about why that's being done. So, next. So how does technology prevent and eliminate crime? It's proactive. It's real-time alerts when stolen or wanted vehicles enter into the city. It's for investigative purposes. As clearance rates increase, crime decreases. And the FLOC cameras themselves serve as a bit of a deterrent once people see them there and know what they are. The FLOC system is already solving and preventing crimes. If we go on to the next slide. This is a list of FLOC safety in Texas. The ones I've highlighted are the ones that are in our general area: Houston, Sugar Land, Harris County Precincts 2, Baytown, City of Webster, Conroe, Leaf City, Jerseyville, and you can see them up there. I don't need to go through the whole list. But these are the agencies and cities around us that are using the FLOC system already. They're in place and they've been proven to prevent and help solve some crime. The next one's in. Just real quickly, a couple of case studies. Sugar Land PD, we're investigating the killing of an Alief ISD teacher. Utilizing the FLOC system and LPR camera, they were able to confirm through the information from the FLOC system and additional evidence and additional investigation that the suspect out of Houston was at the home of the victim after witnesses identified him as her killer. So they were able to gather additional information, cooperate some information. He was arrested a couple of days later and charged with murder in Louisiana. Sugar Land has approximately 100 FLOC LPRs throughout the city, and they're going to add some more. One more Silver Alert example. July of 2023, officers received an alert from a FLOC system that a vehicle associated with a missing person from Louisiana had been detected. They were able to locate the vehicle, initiate a traffic stop. The senior citizen was disoriented, believed that they were just down the street from their home. Officers were able to get them some help and get in contact with the family. So again, the FLOC system was able to get that information to the officers immediately. And one last one. This was a Amber Alert where it was issued at 12:33 p.m. At 101, they conducted a search of the FLOC system. Suspect vehicle was located at 2:30 p.m. by the FLOC system. Officers were able to locate the vehicle, conduct a traffic stop at 5:03, and by 6 o'clock, the child was reunited with the mother. So there's definitely advantages to the FLOC system and the FLOC cameras. So just wanted to give a real quick overview of what it was and what it was not.
Chief, I'd like to thank you for that overview. I think this highlights reasons why and the jurisdictions around us that utilize it and the benefit of the system for the residents. We appreciate this very much.
Quick question, I have a couple of citizens who've approached me about this. So you said that the license plate data is saved for 30 days. So is that every single coming and going of every car out of Nassau Bay is kept for 30 days? Or
30
just
days.
those that are flagged as somebody who has a warrant or something?
So once the vehicle passes through the cameras view and it's captured, it's stored in the flock systems database for 30
So
days.
if I came and went 300 times in the space of a month, you'd have
Yes.
every single time I was coming and going in and out of Nassau Bay?
But it's not evidence until we go in and research and pull that out of the flock system and put it into our evidence. And there's gonna be a policy that has to be written before we put the LPRs into place, and that will require justification from the officers of why they're utilizing that system to go in there and search a certain time period or for a certain license plate. It has to be related to some criminal activity or some criminal investigation that we're conducting. It's not just to be nosy and see who's running through the streets or anything like that. It's gonna have to be related to a proper investigation.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I have a question. So one night we were sitting outside, hanging out like 11:30 at night, and we heard a crash and ran down the driveway to see what it was, and we saw someone driving off and they had hit and run a car on my street. Is the system able to say, we knew it was a silver four-door car, but we didn't see the license plate, it sped off? Can you look in that system and search for silver four-door cars that would have left within that time frame and investigate that way?
Certain criteria, yes. If we know it's a Chevrolet or a Ford or something like, maybe not just a four-door, a simple four-door car, but within a certain time period, yes, we can put that information in without a license plate, a certain color and make of a vehicle. And it may give us an assortment of vehicles, and then the officers can use that. Again, it's a tool, and then there's other evidence and other investigative tools that we use to go down that road. Let's say it pops up 5 that match that criteria. The officers will have the information they can follow. So yes, it can be researched without the license plate numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief? Chief, thank you. I'm really excited about this because we are a small town and tools do amplify your ability. And I know just from citizens contacting me that there's a lot of times they know the make, the type, the color, but they don't get the license plate. And this will certainly help with that. And
It'll help. It's not the end all, but it's definitely.
It'll certainly also allow the police to know the alligator they're wrestling with, but if it is a license plate of somebody who has warrants, or for whatever the history may be, whether it's violent or not, they'll certainly know how to approach with caution.
If the vehicle's already flagged in the system, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, just so it's on record, what this does is a force multiplier, which means it gives the officers the ability to actually get a wider range of observation across the city. And with us having usually 2 officers on at night and getting called out for things inside of our jurisdiction that might need us to move over to precinct 8 or across the street, it adds a lot to what our force can do.
Yep. Okay.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Chief. 9.6, which is probably what a lot of people are here for, which is the discussion action, which is the name of the dog park and removal of the plaque. And let me start out here again because, the naming of these agenda items are not as secure as many people think. And quite honestly, it is something where I'm also not going to water down something which has an importance here so that people can understand what might be the action. And by diluting that, I think we do a disservice to folks. I'm actually very pleased that people came out. I'm very pleased that people are speaking up about this, and I encourage that, as I have said it every time, people need to speak up in order to be a part of that. Too often, there's been things that have not been given disability, things that have not been done where people find out after events rather than before events, and that is not something I support at all. So from that, we've got a little bit of a process here. We've got Mike Barrett, who would like to speak about the things here. I also know that Councilperson Horton also has a statement that she'd like to read. and then we'll start going into the discussion. So with that, Mike, I ask you to come to the podium.
Mayor, before he makes his comments, I just want procedurally, make sure it's clear. So with the parks meetings, that's down there kind of question. That's the Open Meetings Act, correct? It's has to comply with the Open Meetings Act with regard to notice, correct?
Yes.
Did there need to be an agenda item for that dog park before we could vote on it and send it to council? And if so, was there an agenda item giving notice to the citizens about that vote taking place at the parks meeting?
Councilmember Waller, I'm gonna ask you for your assistance on this. There was an agenda posted.
I did look at the agenda, I did not see anything about that dog park. I think that was a comment that was brought up in the public, said about the citizens' comments. So it may be that we've done this prematurely. It may need to get kicked back down to the Parks Committee for them to give that proper notice, have that hearing, and potentially vote again, before this council takes any action on that. I just want to make sure procedurally we're taking the right steps. And if I need to be corrected, please do.
No, it should have been on the agenda with a recommendation to council. So, I do not know, I do not recall if it was on the agenda.
I did not see it on there, so I would recommend that we table this, or make a motion to table it until that is properly done. I just don't want to make this council do something that we're not able to do at this point. I want to make sure procedurally we're doing everything that we're supposed to. I think it's
I
something that
still
always
like
needs
to
to
go
be.
ahead and talk though, since we've gone to all this trouble and getting there and everything like that.
It is not a debatable motion, it's a motion to table.
Need a second.
Session, may I make a query before, if that's okay? I know the motion's been made, and if you can just bear with me for a second before anybody seconds that. Procedurally, I think it's important to note that this is a discussion and/or action. And so don't let things printed, the slash mean that it's going to be exactly something like that. I think that that's important. So if that's the case, that as Councilman Wardlaw stated that it needs to be pushed back down to the committee, for that this to occur and the conversation to happen, I don't have any issue with that, but just for point of clarity, I'd like to be on the record as stating that this is a discussion and/or action. It's not a decisive, thing that will happen.
Mayor, if I second Chase's motion, does that mean I can continue the discussion continues and I can say what I need to say?
I don't believe that's the case.
Oh, so it tables.
So I mean,
And I would just say that I'd rather at least, if we're just gonna have a discussion, and that's all it says on here, I don't mind pushing it back to the committee. But I mean, with my being here and waiting this whole time,
what
I
I
think we
would
should hear.
prefer, if you would allow a discussion here, is I would like a discussion here. And it may be that I think a tabling of it in regards to instructions for future actions would be appropriate. So from that standpoint, I would like to at least hear what people have to say and what direction. I don't even mind starting because I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people.
Can we hear mine?
Where does the motion stand? You don't have a second.
There has not been a second.
Okay, good. Once it's seconded, it'll have to be non-debatable.
That's true.
I think procedurally, Chase is correct. And, so I will second his motion to table.
So let me make sure, if I want to keep anyone on this. Chase, you offered you moved to the table. I believe Sarah or Councilman Morton has seconded, which means we go to a vote. As to whether or not we want to table this.
And if so, there's no debate.
Yeah.
So there's no discussion.
No discussion.
None of the motion to table, and just therefore, and once it's acted upon, if it's tabled, then it's over.
Point of clarity, if I may, just for clarity's sake on this, in relationship to what Councilman Wardlaw has stated, is that, inside that table, when he's requested that it goes back down to that committee.
That's part of the table.
Right, but it goes to that committee for that to occur within that committee.
It's tabled in order for that to occur. That's part of the motion.
Thank you.
So that means I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of tabling? All those in favor of not tabling?
Are you abstaining?
Way to come up.
James, did you vote?
No, I voted opposite.
What? I don't think you can.
You can't say.
Counselor?
I don't think. Can you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it would be 4-2-1, so it does not pass. So
Yeah, well,
4-2 with one abstaining.
4 in favor?
Four to not in favor of
Okay, the 4 not to table.
not to table.
Okay, then didn't table.
So I'd like to move this forward. I would hold on that table because I believe we are not really prepared to move forward on a recommendation here. But I would like to have Mike speak because I think he's been prepared to do this. And I do believe that there needs to be council input on the direction of where we want to go with this. And I think it's something that's fair to both families here that we talk this through and hopefully come up with a win-win. So Mike, if you would.
Good. City Council, thank you very much. My name
Can't
is
hear
Mike
you.
Barrett.
Can you get the microphone where you can hear you better?
My name is Mike Barrett. I'm a 50-year resident here of Nassau.
I can't hear you, Mike. Can you turn the mic up, somebody?
Can somebody
Turn
get
it on. Can somebody help him? I cannot hear him at all.
Careful, because it'll be real loud when you start.
Everybody will wake up.
Testing. Testing.
Just be close to it. Just
If you get really close, we can hear you. If you like, if you turn it up, because you barely hear you.
Okay. I'll try again. My name is Mike Barrett. I'm a 50-year resident here of Nassau Bay. I'm going to try to go with this in a very calm, gentle manner. The first thing I want to say is thank you to Alexis for showing up. Very brave of a young person to come up here and speak on behalf of their father. What happened to your father, nobody wanted. Nobody ever wished on your father. Okay? And if it was not for Alexis, my son would be dead. Alexis is my hero. He's my family, she's my family's hero. She's my son's hero. I want everybody to understand this. This has never been about trying to malign anybody. It's always been about trying to do what is right and to right or wrong. At least what I see, many people that I know saw. But before I address that, there's a couple of things that I want to talk about. I've seen a couple of people come up here tonight and they've demonstrated that they have no idea what they're talking about. They identify my youngest son, Grant, as Jack. They've attacked me publicly and my family lately on social media, saying things they have no idea about what they're talking about. You had somebody up here say tonight that she thought the settlement was fair. Well, I'd like to know where you got that from. I'd appreciate you telling me that because there's no amount of money. I will assure you. No, you did say that.
I did not say
You
that.
did.
Let's
Hey,
move on.
Let me speak.
People didn't interrupt you when you were speaking.
He actually did. He did. Yes.
I did because she's speaking of something that she knows nothing of. And to be honest with you, I'd like to know where she got that information.
Well, I was friends with Chris. I was actual friends, Phil.
Mayor.
As I was saying, my son doesn't even know the terms of the supposed settlement, okay? So I don't know where you think you got that information. And if you think any amount of money justifies that, you should try to walk a mile in my shoes. I'll push that money across the table any
You don't have
day.
access to it because of the ad litem.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
how would she know anything about the ad litem? How would she know who's involved?
Like, one of the things I do, I'd like to keep it on track.
I am, but I'm telling you what you're dealing with. There are people out here that are making accusations that have y'all's ear and are saying things that they've demonstrated they have no ability to understand. They don't know what they're talking about. That being said, there are other people who came on here and said, I've got some sort of political agenda, and I'm aligned with Michelle Waller. All due respect, in the last 30 years, I have been directly or indirectly in helping multiple people get elected to city council. There's not a person on this city council that I have not been to dinner with or had drinks at one time or another, including Paula over at the Preston's house. We've all been together. And just because you have this idea in your head that I don't agree with certain people, and you want to talk about me passing out flyers about Sarah, I think Sarah's a wonderful person, but I knew that this was coming up, and I knew that certain people were aligning themselves with her, and this was going to put everybody, including our friendship, at jeopardy. For what it's worth, I'll sit at a blackjack table at 3 o'clock in the morning in Vegas with Sarah's husband. Does that make me tight with her or less tight? It does not. All I'm trying to say is there's so much disinformation out there. I literally was attacked, my family was attacked, and you've got somebody talking about a judge at Lytle. Where did they get that information? How did they get that information? My attorney's sure not talking. I'm not talking. They haven't talked to me. I've never discussed figures. If you think that's fair, I will assure you, if you've ever had a child injured in your life, there's no amount of money that can make it okay. There's not, and if you live it, it's horrible. So with that addressed, I'll move on. Alexis, again, thank you, and God bless you. I truly do that for you and your family. I know it's tough. Alexis brought up a good point, that she was not notified that this was going to take place. And it's sad that she was not. I wasn't going to reach out. I thought maybe it'd be improper to do that. But for what it's worth, when your father passed away, I was not notified when they decided to honor a man who owned a dog, who was responsible for the worst dog attack in the history of Nassau Bay, that they were going to honor him with naming a dog park after him. I got multiple phone calls from people I've known for all these years. I went to college with, went to high school with, people here, city council called me. And I said, when I first heard, I said, this is going to be a joke. This can't be true. So of course I went and met with the Parks and Recreation chairman at the time. I actually ran into him in Cold Springs, Texas, where he has a lake house up there close to ours. We had a very impromptu conversation, and he said he would check into it for me. Well, of course, he never got back with me. He never addressed me. I then went to city council, and I addressed the night that they were going to vote on it. And I said, told them the story. In fact, it's unfortunate, Mark Dignan left. He was the mayor at the time. I was interrupted 3 times that night. And I said, you can name whatever you want after this man. Name the pavilion after him. Name the peninsula walk over there, the trail over there. Do whatever you want to do. But don't name a dog park. And I think anybody with any sense can see where you don't name a dog park after somebody like that. I'm not trying to malign you or your family or anyone. I just thought, surely you have more sense than that. I literally was shouted down. You remember that night, Dick? I was here. I was here. I was told basically to leave. And what did they do? They did it anyway. We were never notified of any of that. But I wanted to address that because a lot of things have been said tonight. But my story is not about him. It's about my son. It's about riding along. It's always just been about making things right. My son, Jack, was 9 years old. April 7, 2011. He had met Alexis, they had become friends, and they were gonna go down and they were gonna play at her house. And my wife says, oh, we'll take you walking, talking, so it'll be fine, you know, and I was working in the backyard, and I said, well, just holler at me if you need anything, kiddo. It's only 11 houses down the street, what could go wrong, right? You know, and my parents, the kind of catacomb to their home. So they had just left. And I hear screams over the walkie-talkie. And they were blood-curdling screams. And that's all they were. There were screams. There were no words. It was screaming. And so I assumed somebody had hit them in the car because they couldn't have gotten very far. And at least I got my keys. My keys were right there. I got in my car and I said, what's going on? And the next voice I heard was Alexis' voice. And she screamed, they're killing him. They're killing him. They're killing him. Help me. That's all I got. Now, can you imagine being a parent and hearing that? You have no idea. So of course I drove right down the street as fast as I could. I never did see the kids. I got to their house. I ran up the driveway and I was met with Alexis. And she was in shock. I was met with another lady standing there with the broom. I grabbed the broom. I ran through the backyard and was laying with concrete. I ran back there and my son was being mauled by two large dogs. I kicked one of them, got him away. I broke the broom over the top of the other dog's head. I got down on top of him. He was covered in blood from head to toe. There was not a place on his hand or his arm or his leg or his torso or his buttocks or his feet or his face or his neck. It was not bleeding. This was not a nip. This was a terrible attack. He was cut so bad, he looked like he'd been in a razor knife fight. His leg was wide open. It barely missed his femoral artery. The two bites went over his neck. It missed his carotid artery. At the end of the day, as I lay over him and he was in shock, he had been fighting and he was running out of steam. I grabbed him and I picked him up and I threw him up on my shoulder. As the dog is now biting me and attacking me, I ran out there with my dog and was able to get the dog away from us, and we ran out through the gate. Of course, Alexis helped me get the telephone. We called 911, and within minutes, Nassau Bay's EMS was there. God bless him. There was a big guy, I think he's now passed away. I think his name was Mike. He was in the city forever. And I said, do we need Lifeline? And he says, Lifeline will take 20 minutes to get here. It'll take too long to get downtown. We don't have a level 5 trauma center here. He says, I can get you to Texas Children's Hospital in under 30 minutes. This man was my hero. He drove like a madman, and he got there in 28 minutes. And he radioed ahead, and he had surgeons on staff. They cut my son's clothes off. And of course, they want to know, to me, is when I finally get there, my wife rode in the ambulance with Jack, because I called her, and she shows up, and she's like, what's going on? I said, Jack's been attacked by a dog. And she gets in the ambulance, and of course, I said, she's all right, it's going to be okay. I'm trying to call my wife. And she rides up there, he gets to the emergency room, they cut his clothes off, and the one thing they want to know, have the dogs had their rabies shot? And I'm like, I don't know. So now, as a parent, my concern is my kid. Now I've got to go on the phone and find out have they been inoculated for rabies. They wheeled my son away, and my son spent 4.5 hours, almost 5 hours, in surgery to put him back together. The children's surgeon that did it was a master at reconstructive surgery. They put him back together as best they could. You could see into his chest, you could see into his leg. He had puncture wounds all over his body. He was bleeding profusely. That night, at about 3 o'clock, when we were able to see Jack, he was unconscious, he was numb, he was in sad shape. My wife wanted me to go home and get some stuff because we knew we were going to be up there. So I went home that night, and of course you don't sleep. You just try to figure out what just happened. We ultimately spent 8 days in the hospital. And there was a point in there where the surgeon came to me and he said, Mike, he says, we've got an infection in his leg. And everything becomes really real when you have a conversation with a child's surgeon who is talking about possibly having to amputate your child's leg if they can't stem the infection because they didn't want it to spread any farther. That's how bad it was. They were able to get him put back together. He had 17 different drains in his body. After we got him home, for the next 2 months, I thank God I work for myself. And I'm able to do what I can do, did for my child. Me and my wife, every other day, drove 4 hours back and forth to have his wounds dressed and redressed, and for lack of a better term, give him a bleach bath so there was no more infection. There was multiple physical therapies to make sure that stretching him so that the scars did not scar up and he lost his mobility. I can't tell you how sad it was for all of my family involved. And we go, well, you know, it was just a sad, tragic mistake. And that's what a lot of people want to think, but it wasn't. The bottom line was, after the investigation, we found out that this dog had put the owner's own child, not Alexis, her older sister, in the hospital 2 weeks prior. They knew there was a propensity for this dog to do this. Her arms were sewn up, bandaged. She couldn't swim on a swim team or volleyball team, I'm not sure what it was. Prior to that, we also found out it had gotten one of the neighborhood kids down and ripped his pants. So my son was the third time this had happened. Now ask yourself, how would you feel if this happened to yourself and they wanted to name a dog park after a man who was responsible for the worst dog attack in this city's history? I, my wife, my children, my friends, the rest of my family have to go by that dog park. And it's okay, it'd be one thing if you were honoring him in some other way, but for a dog park in that specific way, it's a slap, it's disrespectful, it's wrong. And I tried so many ways and so many times to try to get that point across to multiple people, and I was shut down in front of this city council in 2018. I thank you so very much for giving me this time and to have an ear to listen to this story. Now, anybody wants to talk about political retribution? Trust me, my family has faced it. What came after that, I won't go into detail. But people know what my parents went through. People know what I went through. And it literally started up today. Alexis reached out to my son today. Thank you for that. It actually scared Jack. And it was not I totally get that. He didn't know how to react. And I appreciate you doing that. And he will be getting back with you. Thank you. But the things that have been posted on social media that have been taken down, said about my family, people trying to claim that they know about said settlements that were fair, they're wrong. And that's what goes on in this town every single day. I had a guy that was removed tonight that was posting things that I've never even met this guy. I wouldn't know if I bumped into him. He's posting things about me and my child on social media. If you think that's right, it's not. Put yourself in my position. I have endured this since 2011, and I had hoped when we as a family, and they as a family, had taken care of this issue and put it behind us. It was behind us. The aftermath and the repercussions of all that It never ended. There were litigation, there were accusations, there was maligning, and it still goes on today. And you've got a bunch of social justice, social warriors out there talking about things that they have no idea. And they badmouth you guys, and I know you guys are all big girls and guys, say, stand up here for our nice little city here. But they're attacking me, my children, my wife, saying things about my dogs. It goes on. I've never seen anything like it. There are people in this room who posted about my family who have no idea what we've gone through. I don't appreciate it. But I want to tell you how much I appreciate this time before city council. And all I've ever asked is just to do the right thing. I'm not aligned with anybody. I can take them or leave them. They're going to go and they're going to come. And as long as I live here, I'm going to work my butt off to get the people elected that I like or know or will help me. And if the backers of those people are certain people that I know that have worked against me or my family, then I'm not going to back them. And they know why. But it's okay. I still like them. I still respect them. I know they're all trying really hard for this city. But I don't need to be bullied by anybody. All I ever ask is just make this right for my son. It's not about anybody else. Just make it right. Just do what you can to right this wrong. And if you are so inclined to do something else, to honor Alexis as father, that's upon you, not me. But a dog park named after a man who owned a dog, who was responsible for the worst dog attack in the history of Nassau Bay, I think you probably ought to check your moral compass. Because it's unfair to me. It's unfair to my family. Most important, it's unfair to my son. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. And I want to.
Is the camera on?
Did he just, was that was recorded?
I'm going to show you something.
Is the owl on?
Mike, I'd like to thank you for bringing that photo up here. And I would also like to say, a lot of the people up here have kids. I have a 9-year-old son. He goes and plays with everybody's kids, probably the most outgoing you've ever seen. I can tell you that this young man, Jack, and his brother Grant are phenomenal young men. Plus, I commend you for the courage that you have coming up here, seriously. And I think you made a really good comment. I think Mike made a really good comment. And I would say this, Mayor, it's my opinion that the former city council made a gross mistake in not looking at this for what it was, and maybe making a good decision of taking something else to name in honor of Alexis's father and what he contributed to the community.
So let me, I also want to second that. And there's, like I said, there's two truths. We talked about one truth. There's another truth. There's another truth about somebody who really did a lot for the city. And while I agree with Mike around saying, is there another way to honor him where his family doesn't have the grief that they do, I think is a very, very honorable way. And I really appreciate, Alexa, you coming here and actually, you can see the interrelation between the two families and how my hope is we can just do what's right. And that means honor both truths. So, Sarah, I don't want to not turn the mic to you because you did have some statements.
Yes, I have a statement I'm gonna read, and I'm obviously, it's been a long evening, and I've heard a lot of information, so I might be tweaking a little bit of what I'm saying, but I just wanna say that I probably had more interactions with Jack Barrett than most of the people up here because he lives across the street, or he lived across the street from me, before he went off to college. He is a wonderful young man, and it was hard to hear that because I have kids his age, or his age when he was at time. But I also know Jana, this is a very difficult situation. And both families are great, Jana was one of the first people that I met when we moved to Nassau Bay, and she was so nice and welcoming. And I actually never met Chris Reed, but I've heard a lot of, things about him, that he was a very well-respected city manager. He did great things to make Nassau Bay what it is today. And I know his reach went well beyond, this community. He was very involved with CCISD, KEMA, Lake City Police Department. But I know a lot about this incident as well, because years ago when it happened, before my family even moved to Nassau Bay, and before I met Jana, my husband's law firm represented Jack in the claim against the Reed's Insurance Company. My husband was not the primary attorney on the case. That was Scott Christ, who's the Barrett's longtime friend. But nevertheless, that's something of pretty great significance now, as I sit here, which of course I could not have anticipated then. And something that I'm disclosing. And I've thought long and hard about this issue, and I owe it to the people I represent to make decisions on difficult and divisive community issues. But given my husband's representation of Jack in particular, I don't feel it's appropriate or fair to either family for me to decide this issue. I plan to abstain from voting on the actual substance of the issue. But because I am the way I am, I do want to comment about the manner by which this issue was brought to council and addressed by council. So 3 years ago, City Council voted on this very issue, and the vote was 7-0. And it's my understanding that council was aware of the civil litigation involving the Reeds and Barretts and the dog attack at that time. If council is going to reverse the unanimous decision of a prior fully informed council in such a short period of time, I think that a thoughtful process needs to be followed. And I think we've already in a way messed this up, because I don't like that you heard about this, not from us. And actually that was something I spoke to the mayor about before coming. I said, have the Reeds been spoken to? And he said, not to my knowledge. And that bothers me. Another issue is that this item was placed on the agenda 72 hours ago, okay, as required by law. And I learned of it at 5:30 on Friday. And I learned from the mayor's posting on Facebook that there have been some ongoing discussions about this, and that he'd been able to speak in advance to some members of the community and other special interest groups that had involvement with the dog park, about their feelings towards the issue. And I feel like members of council that will be voting on this need to have a good amount of time to thoughtfully process this and come up with a solution that will please everybody. And I agree with Chase's motion about this should have been placed on the parks agenda as required by the Open Meetings Act. And at that time, it would have been posted online and people would have been able to come and speak at that meeting. And then if that had happened, if that procedure had been correctly followed, then we might not have been in a situation of such a sore feeling in this room tonight, where people are very upset, they feel like they weren't informed, the process seems rushed. And the decision feels incomplete in a way because this procedure was not followed correctly. And that's why I supported Chase's motion on that, because I do feel that it should have been placed on the parks agenda. It should have been that at that point, it could have been an open discussion. The Reeds could have even been invited to attend. People could have actually put forward alternative solutions at that meeting. It didn't have to be a city council meeting, in front of everybody, where everyone has to sit through all our other agenda items in order to have a chance to speak. So if the rest of council is going to consider this issue, it does not need to be rushed, and it does not need to be decided absent input from the proper people, and the decision will inevitably satisfy one family at the expense of the other. And, Chris Reed deserves to be memorialized in the city, but in a great way, but not to the great offense of a young man who has grown up here.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment if I may. I'd like to reflect back to the time when the decision was made. Unfortunately, I was not here. I don't know Chris Reed. I had no idea of me reacquaint myself to the barracks. I was much younger when I knew Mike, and that his sons are phenomenal young men. Nassau Bay is a community, and what people need to understand is that consideration for everything needs to be reviewed and assessed. The community talks about these things, and a community sits down, and I have to say, I brought this up before. The city council up here on the dais has seemed to fix problems that have been here for 5-10 years. Looking back on this is a horrible decision of a former city council. I think I commend you for being here, and Mike, saying and showing that, thank you, because that is really important to see what happened. But for a family to live here in Nassau Bay and go past the park every day and be reminded of what happened to their son, is that community? I want everybody to look at themselves and say that is, because I can tell you inside of there are no public comments inside of the minutes from the meeting when there was that 7-0 vote. No public comments were ever put into those agendas. Right there, that's the procedural issue we have a problem with. That's what we're trying to fix here. We're trying to fix these things so that everybody has a say, it's recorded, and we move forward with making decisions that's best for the community here.
So I'd like to intervene here a little bit because we're focusing on one truth. And I believe, as I mentioned, there's two truths here. And that's something that hasn't been really discussed as to, other than saying, hey, we want to remove a difficult situation from one family, but it creates a difficult situation for another family. And I feel for that. And I guess one of the things I'd like to see is when we talk about more time, that we really look at what those alternatives are. I think I've mentioned some to the police, mentioned some to a variety of places, which would really elevate where he made his most contributions because they are substantial. They are not insignificant, and they're not something that should not be rewarded. And in my mind, that's what's missing here is not so much just writing one, but you got to write the other too.
Right, yeah.
And I believe very strongly in that. And I certainly would like to see, here, if we're looking at how to move forward, I certainly would like to see us have, entertain, moving the memorial to Chris. But I would not want to do that unless we know where it's going. And I would like to have, I have in my mind maybe a couple of people that we should task to be able to come back and say exactly where that should be. And I should absolutely think the Reed family should be involved. I also believe the previous council should be involved. I believe the wishes of some of the people who he had worked with on staff should be part of that and be able to come back with that recommendation. And hopefully, not only will we have a situation where we resolve the pain for one family, we don't create another one, and that we actually find a proper place to remember Chris, because he was a part of this community.
I'd like to make a motion, Ron. Mayor, if I can?
Yeah.
Your Honor.
The honorable, I believe.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to refer this topic to the dog park and alternative locations to the Parks Committee for evaluation and to determine, a good alternative to the location of the plaque.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to add to that motion if I may. In reflection of what you stated, I would make a request that that motion be amended and then would include the families in relationship to those decisions that are made.
I would actually like to see, well, I mean, procedurally, it hasn't been seconded, so I assume we can continue this discussion.
Yes, you can.
Is, quite honestly, what I'd like to see is two people who have been up on this council who knew Chris be actually tasked with, doing those actions and bringing it back to this council. I don't believe this is something where people who aren't knowledgeable of history, who haven't been involved, and who don't know the individuals in play. And I'd really like to see those two, and just so you know who I'm thinking of it's Paula from the CCISD side and myself from council from a while back, that we look at working with the different people and get their input to be able to bring a recommendation as to where this, where we should place the memorial.
And I think my motion would allow you to appear before the Parks Committee to make those comments and give your input as to where it should go. I would just reiterate my motion.
So, Mayor's point of information, so I did look on my agenda and there was just the dog park in general was on there, so it didn't have a specific thing on it. But is there a way for us to make a motion tonight that we could go ahead and rename the dog park to the Apollo Dog Park, which is what they voted on, and then also at the same time refer back to the committee on exactly where to place the other?
There's already a motion on the floor, and unless this is a substitution of it, you should act upon the motion that's already been made, and if you've got a second, then do it that way.
Do I hear a second to the
I
motion?
want to know, I want to hear the motion again.
I would make a motion to refer this topic of the dog park plaque with Chris Reed's name on it, and have alternatives discussed at the parks meetings, with both families being involved as well.
But can we go ahead and like say that we're gonna change the name to Apollo, we're gonna do that, and then the committee is going to talk about just the replacement of the,
That's not a part of
okay, I can understand.
Yeah, I think that, I know you're waiting on a second here, and I'm not ready to give a second yet, because I know we're still having this discussion, but, with what Alexis and Jack had to go through as a child, I can't even imagine, and then even more horrifying to me is as a parent, what Mike had to go through. I would be extremely offended if the dog park were named on that same honor. I totally see where you're coming from. And I would be fighting just as hard as you if I were in that situation. My only problem is I don't want to right a wrong with another wrong. And so I'd like to find a way that we can come to terms where both families, Alexis and her family, also get a say in where that plaque gets moved and they're respectful of it. So thank you so much for coming up here. I really appreciate you sharing your side of the story with everybody.
I think Alexis and her family should be part of that.
Yes, that's part of my motion. I think it's very.
That was the amendment of my motion, to Chase's was done.
Right now, I just stopped and seconded, we're going to continue discussion.
And so the part of the discussion, I think that the mayor had mentioned while we were making this motion many times was, is it something that should be with the Parks Committee, or do we want to have a different group looking at it, which would, like he suggested?
I personally believe that this may not go on park property. It may go up on city property. It may go in a variety of different places, which really, I believe, means you need to elevate the discussion from the Parks and Recreation.
And the other thing I wanted to say before we go forward, because I didn't really get a chance to go into any detail, but, I just feel like, the Barrett family have had to go through this for us since 2011, what is that, 13 years? To delay this even more, I think is gonna be causing undue hardship on this family. I mean, there was a million places that we could have put this, and we still can. The dog park, I think, was the poor choice, and that they made a mistake on that. And I think we need to right that wrong. I would like to see if there's a way to make it where we can go ahead and change the name now, and then take that plaque, and you guys have your own committee, if you like, with the families to decide where it's gonna go. It doesn't have to go to the park.
The motion is for the park committee. That's the way it's worded.
That's not the second.
Yeah,
No, but it hasn't had a chance to be declared not to be seconded either. It's still on the floor.
It's still on the floor, yes. And the reason why I thought it should go back to the Parks Committee is because the Parks Committee is the one that recommended that this be put on the agenda. And I think it's appropriate and the right forum for them to review that.
So I hear that.
But if it's not seconded, it's asked for lack of a second, so that's where you are.
Correct. And this is what I would say, Chase. I believe it was very appropriate for the Parks Committee to make that recommendation because the dog park is on there. But it's an incomplete recommendation. They don't have, where it will go. And I disagree that the Parks Committee is the right venue by where to look at how we would move it and where it would go. And I believe just in a very simple principle is to do no harm. And I really would like to see that there's at least a consensus on this council that we do want to rename the park. I would then agree with you that it should go back to the park thing about what the name is, but I really don't want to touch anything of a memorial. I don't want to do anything until we figure out what the proper location is that would be, well received by the Reed family.
Who is that?
Pardon me?
Who would decide that?
Well, I would like to see, and I mentioned here is just I believe there's two people here who have a lot of history with a lot of the activity to be able to bring back to this council. It's obviously got to be a council decision.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to, since the motion has not been seconded yet, I would like to make a motion that a subcommittee of the council consisting of the two individuals to do Chris Street in conjunction with the family of Chris Street and the family of Jack Barrett.
As well as the other, I'd like to talk to the other council too.
And I
In more
think,
detail, talk.
I think that needs to happen first before this walks back through this door. That's my motion.
Do I hear a second? Second. What do you want to talk?
I want to talk first.
Yeah.
That one put over like a second. This one is about to be seconded, I think, but I'm not sure.
We will find out.
Well, I'd like to enter the discussion. The reason I didn't go along with the table is because I understood that if we tabled it, we couldn't talk. And I don't think that would have been fair to all the people that are here, because I think you need to know our opinion. And I think as we all have spoken, you understand where we're going, where I'm going. I, as a parent, wouldn't want the park named after a certain person. And I, as a family of somebody that's done good things, wouldn't want the plaque just torn off. So I think the solution that I'm hearing across the board is, if I can interpret, the plaque is going to leave the park merely by our discussion, which is what I hoped from the very beginning. And then secondly, the plaque is going to find a final resting place that respects the Reed family. So when everybody leaves here, I want you to know that's clearly my interpretation, and it appears from the discussion up here, that's the council's interpretation. Because I didn't want it to be tabled and everybody just worrying about where our perception is for where it should go. So I could table it if it's a procedural problem, or I could move on and have a subcommittee. But my bottom line is I understand both families. And maybe we shouldn't have put on the agenda removal. Maybe we should have just put on discussion of the plaque. I don't really know that, but I do see that we want to solve the problem, which is to honor the Barrett family and honor the Reed family. And if I'm asked to serve, I would do that, and I would want to hear much more from both families. So that's where I'm coming from. I can second this motion, or
We have a second, so.
I've heard a motion, I haven't heard a second.
I have a motion, I've made a motion.
Correct, you made a motion, but I haven't heard a second.
repeat your motion.
I need you to repeat your motion.
My motion is the subcommittee consisting of the two individuals who knew Chris Reed is created in conjunction with the families of both Chris Reed and Jack Barrett to come back to this council with a solution.
Recommendation.
A recommendation solution, whichever you want to call it, in regards to this discussion that we're having in relationship to number one, the dog park, and number two, as you stated, Paul, I think, the final resting place for that.
I'll second that.
Yep, that's a second. Any more
Yes,
comment?
just commenting on what Paula said, so, I'm not hearing that we're removing the plaque right now.
No, I'm not
Okay,
even.
that's what I thought you
No,
said.
No, no, just in the removal process, yeah. So the committee will, in my opinion, and I think maybe we could put it in the motion, that the plaque not be removed until we find a final resting place.
I think you were mentioning though that the consensus, it will be moved.
Right, I think that's what I was mentioning.
There was consensus on that. So-
Okay.
So can we have that in the motion?
If you want to put it in there.
Probably isn't normal procedure. But I would request that if that's how this is going to work, that you put a timeline on it.
I agree. I was gonna.
I
I was-
totally agree. Either one of them needs to go.
My next council.
Exactly. I would like to stipulate within the timeframe of the next council meeting, which is November, Secretary, can you tell me the date, November 8th, that those recommendations are brought back to this council to be discussed and voted upon.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Any more comment? Any more thing? I have a motion and a
My
second.
only comment, I do want to say this. I would like to say that I know a lot of people on both sides of every fence in this town. My son plays with everybody. He loves everybody. I love everybody's parents. I think they're great parents here in Nassau Bay. What I don't understand is why people want to put stuff on social media and put things up that potentially can hurt other residents. I really would like people to consider what their actions are and consider Nassau Bay community again versus what it's digressing into.
But that's not in the motion.
It's not, it's November 13th is next.
It's November 13th?
Correct, yes.
November 13th.
I amend my motion to the date of November 13th. Thank you. Mayor Rotati.
Then again, any other comments? Any other
I
things?
call for the vote.
I just feel like, I would like to make a comment. Okay?
Yeah.
I just feel like I'd like for the motion to include that it's definitely gonna be removed, because I don't wanna keep going through this over and over again.
I believe it is.
Is it in the motion? So I just wanna
The
clarify.
motion is that this subcommittee, inclusive of the two individuals who knew Chris Reed, along with the families of Chris Reed and Jack Barrett, will bring back to the council recommendation or suggestions in relationship to the final resting place for that plaque. And with that, we will vote November 13th.
So I still don't know, I can't hear you saying that it's going to be removed and placed somewhere
You're
else.
deciding that on November 13th.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Then it is time to vote, folks. And I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor? All those not? Passes 6-1.
With one abstention, please.
Oh, I thought I saw your hand. Oh, yeah, one abstention, that's right. So it'd be 5,
Yes,
correct, from
I
your
abstained,
statement.
like I said, I would.
Correct, just to be clear, there it passed 5-0 with,
Going with.
one against and one abstention.
That's right.
One recuse. Not recuse, but.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, everybody, and I really appreciate everybody's patience going through here. I believe you can see here, there's a desire to really help out both families. And sometimes it's not as easy and clean as you'd like, and but we'll get to the right answer. Okay? I'm moving on. The next item is the discussion and action, the appointment to the Parks and Recreation Committee.
I don't
That
have
would
that
be
in my
yours?
packet.
Yeah.
I don't have it in my packet, so I don't know like how many people applied. Was it just the one that I want to recommend Kathy Huff?
My understanding.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to nominate Kathy Huff to be, replace, I guess, Raven Moser on the, Parks Committee, Raven Move. And Kathy approached me, her husband, maintains the, the yacht club, the marina, and I thought that would be a good addition to the group because we could have input. What I tried to do with the Parks Committee is get somebody from every side of Nassau Bay, Bell Harbor, Queens Court, Nassau Bay proper, on every area, on the lake, on the water, everybody. So now we have somebody who's working on the marina, they showed interest, they've come to the meeting last time, and, she wants to take on some projects, so, that's the only application I got, so.
Yeah, so I hear a motion, I hear a second. Any other questions,
In
comments?
future, can we have the applications in our packet? I read it in our email, I saw it come through, but I just, I think all of.
And I know there was one other person, I guess it didn't come through, but yeah, I just didn't have it here, so.
There's
There's
another,
still
there's
one other
another
position
agenda
that's
item
open,
to
so
talk
if
about.
anybody is interested in applying,
Okay.
feel free to email me, michelle.weller@nassaubay.com if you're interested. Come to our next meeting on the 25th of October at
So I
6
got a
o'clock.
motion, I wanna move on, because
Okay,
it's
so
10:10.
You got a second and a motion?
I got a motion and a second. Any other further comment? Then I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. So the next one is 9.8, discussion action, resolution number 2023-10-16, voluntary donation amounts to the volunteer fire department. And I believe, Lucy, I think this was one that was in particularly your interest.
Yes, this
I'll let you
was
talk
definitely of interest to me. When we were going through all of our budget workshops, we spoke about funding for our fire department, and this discussion circled around the ladder truck, the other needs that they had for radios and things like that. And one of the comments that I had is it'd be nice for an easy way for residents to give a little bit more to the voluntary donation that we can make to the fire department with our water bill. And so the way that this resolution is written is that in addition to the $2 voluntary donation you can make when you pay your water bill, you could also donate up to $5. The way that it works is when they get your check, if the amount is exactly $2 over what you owe, that $2 goes into that fund for equipment for the volunteer fire department. This will allow for either a $2 or a $5 extra amount on your bill to go to the fire department's equipment voluntary donation fund.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say something or make a motion.
Yeah. So
I don't know if anyone has any
moved,
discussion on it,
seconded.
but yeah, I can,
Do we need any further discussion on it?
I don't think I formally made a motion, but.
Just real quickly, I think Chief George wanted to make sure that it was understood it was fire department in the email.
Oh, yes,
I'm
okay.
sorry,
It was fire department in the
Is that EMS?
Oh, and
Does it say that?
EMS,
Yeah,
correct.
Chief George wanted to make.
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
now
it says,
I
it does
understand,
state that.
correct.
The fire department's bolded, but it says or an emergency medical service.
Okay.
Yep. So just to cut through, that says we now have, you can donate nothing, or you can donate, it's either
2 or 5.
2, and then we're now gonna add a tier that says 5. We didn't wanna make a decision to, volunteer somebody else's money to go from 2 to 5, so we're just creating a third tier, and people can make their decisions.
Mr. Mayor, we have a motion on the floor.
Yep, so there's a
I
motion.
don't, I
Did you
actually
move?
didn't make a motion, but I'd like to make a motion for resolution number 2023-10-16, voluntary donation amounts to volunteer fire.
Mayor, I second the motion.
Moved and seconded, and is there any other further comments? Then I call for the vote, all those in favor? Passes 7-0. 9.9, which is the discussion action, setting the date for the Charter Review Commission, I'll take that one. With the bringing on of the city manager and also setting the things for the city secretary, there's been really not a crisp turnover to be able to help with the Charter Review Committee. I want to set the date of the 6-month period that they have, starting November 1st and going to, I guess that would be, end of April, so that they have that full 6 months to be able to do their work. And I would also like to ask the city manager to be able to, at the beginning of day 1 of November 1, to begin the coordination with the Charter Review Commission to make sure they're kicked off properly. So I'd like to hear a motion.
I would like to make a motion that the date that you set of November 1st, it starts the date of the initial start date for the Charter Review Commission, which will include the city manager.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Paula. Any further discussion? Then I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Working on, again, these are items 9, 9, 10. They're setting a date for a workshop meeting and I really want this to be all on council. I've had enough, just honestly, of the trying to piece together from our cyber attack, trying to piece together from some of the history that's missing. I believe we need to just put our cards on the table, and then wherever there's a gap, we make a decision as to what those terms are when they're up, and we set that clock and set those positions so that there's zero ambiguity for people here and publish these things. And I think we need a workshop to help the staff with that and be able to just finalize that. That way we can get those names up on the website. We can get everything up there as to when they're available, and it would just ease everything, and we need a workshop for that. So please look at your calendars now.
Commissioner, are you proposing a date for?
Hang on, I'm getting my calendar up myself. So I certainly would like things to be, the next week's pretty well shot, but the first or second week in November work for me. I don't know what the others.
So October 30th and November 6th would be 2 Mondays.
Or anywhere in between.
The 6th would be better for me.
Because it'll be after the fall week, so the 6th will be better.
I just heard election is on the 7th, so the 6th and the 7th are probably not gonna work. It's gonna be the 8th, 9th, or the 10th.
I can do that.
Are we trying to do this prior to the council meeting on the 13th?
Yes,
We can't do October 30th?
we can.
Okay.
We can do, I mean, that's what I'm just saying, is that timeframe, but it's, pardon me.
The EDC is the 23rd.
Let's give them 2 dates. I think October 30th is one, and what would be the other for folks?
November 8th, 9th, 10th.
I don't think we want to do Halloween. We could do the 2nd or the 3rd.
I have fall sweep that week, that's gonna be really.
Oh, there's fall sweep. So, or the 8th,
The
9th, or the
8th,
10th.
9th, and the 10th is okay?
I would request not the 10th because it's my daughter's birthday and they're going camping.
I think that's
Cases on campus.
fair enough.
I second that.
So how about the 8th? I'd rather have it earlier than.
November 8th is fine.
So can you do us a favor, please, just double check with everybody the dates of the 30th and the 8th and see what is most preferred, and let's just lock that and have a workshop. Okay? 6 o'clock. Okay? So I guess do I need a motion for that? It has an action. So I need a motion for that? That we.
I motion to look at those 2 dates of the, I believe that was the
30th
and the 8th of November, 30th of October, 8th of November, for the meeting that would be tied to setting a workshop meeting for first meeting to discuss boards and commission processes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. 11 is the discussion action, Economic Development Corporation project to proceed with the Majul trees on Nassau Road 1. I can take this, is the EDC had passed the funding for 20 more of the Majul trees. These would be preferentially targeted to be at the east and west entrance of Nassau Road 1. So these would be, as you come off the bypass and land, the very first esplanade, there would be 10 like there used to be. And there would be 10 on the other side as you're coming from the Hilton, from 146. There's that very first esplanade, and we would put 10 of the majestic Majuls there.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that council approves the Economic Development Corporation project to proceed with the procurement of the Majul trees on Nassau Road 1.
I'll second.
Seconded. seconded by
I have
Michelle.
a couple of questions.
Yeah, sure.
Number one, how hardy are these things? Are they gonna die in the first 3?
So they'll be the same ones that are currently there, the
Okay.
ones that survived 5 days of 18 degrees. They're actually.
And you get the warranty as
So
well?
that's the two things. One is this will be, they're guaranteed to below, 214 degrees. But even that, we buy a guarantee so that if for whatever reason they die, they replace them, no questions asked.
And how much is the cost of this?
Each one of the trees is about $6,000.
And how many trees? I mean, I can use them.
20. That was,
Okay, so, okay,
180,000.
yeah,
yeah, so with all the things there, and this is for the Economic Development Corporation,
okay,
it'll be about $180,000 total.
okay,
And that would come from the EDC fund.
okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Did we do a vote?
So any other comments? Then I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. And for Mr. Brett.
Mayor, if I can, I'd like to.
Just hang on. I gotta read the thing here. I appreciate your patience, which is the 9.12 presentation, the M6 Global Defense regarding City of Nassau Bay security audit. And yes, go.
Yes, I would like to commend the gentlemen for their patience and tenacity of staying as late as we have with us. This is based off of discussion in previous city council where we did not have a security audit for the city. And with that, the chief reached out to M6. I participated in the initial meetings and some of the course, and then we had a follow-up meeting. And this is a briefing of the gentleman from M6 in relationship to what they do.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it and you're welcome. Being a former elected official myself, I understand how this works. I'm just glad it's not me sitting there tonight, like it used to be. So, thank you for having us. I do appreciate it. My name is Mike Petranka. I am the CEO of M6 Global Defense. I'm a former United States Secret Service agent. I was assigned to the president on the presidential counter assault team under our special operations division, where I became a team leader on Team 6. Then went over to the United States Secret Service and then moved my way through several other agencies, focusing on domestic terrorism, and have had my hand in multiple mass shootings, to include the Las Vegas mass shooting, where over 500 were wounded and 57 were deceased. I started this company in 2020, and we currently have 33 consultants in 16 states with almost 600 years of practical, real-world, boots-on-the-ground experience, specializing in everything protection of people and assets. Our company specializes in protection of people and property from multiple different perspectives. Using technology, using intelligence, using the human element, which can never be discounted. I argue with people all the time, AI is great, but it will never it will never take over what humans can do. And so we were hired by the chief, and thank you, Chief, we appreciate that, to examine your 4 facilities, which is this building that we're standing in here today, the Public Works building, the wastewater treatment plant, and the fire station. And so some of the things that we've discovered were some of the things that you already knew. And quite frankly, after tonight's meeting, I think maybe we need to readdress a few other things. I do agree that social media does make people do and say things that they normally would not say in front of a crowd or in front of that individual. We have become a very violent society in the United States, but our world has become more violent. So we have to look at things very differently. And so what our approach is that we take technology and humans and we form
an ecosystem of security to keep those who we're responsible for, who we took an oath to keep, safe. So, again, you have a 54-page report that you should have received sometime today. There are some things that we would like to address in closed sessions. In fact, I think it would be more appropriate that we address those things in closed session so that we don't disclose any particular type of operational security information. So we're happy to meet with you in closed session and discuss those things.
Just for the citizens, one is we wanted people to know that we had this security audit done in order to be able to kind of see our weaknesses. We have executive session that I'm going to be taking this shortly so we can hear kind of the point blank vulnerabilities that we have, and we do want to do that in closed session, and then we'll decide how to roll it out from there. Sure. But in any event, is there anything else you'd like to mention about?
I think that
our citizens in particular?
Yes, I think that the citizens should know that yes, we've identified some vulnerabilities and we have provided some ideas and some things that would mitigate those vulnerabilities. But overall, the city of Nassau Bay is sitting in a pretty good spot. There's been some very good decisions that have been made by leadership at the council level, as well as at the individual department head level. We feel like there's nothing that you're experiencing right now that can't be rectified and mitigated. And so we want to say thank you again. Part of the hurdle in this space is getting people to understand that it can happen here. You know, if you look across the United States, these things seem to be happening every day. What I will tell you is that from our background, our entire executive team is primarily Secret Service, upper level management officials. Well, except for Brent, sorry. But Brent's contribution to law enforcement is outstanding. And so we look at things differently than what a normal security company would look at. The majority of people are looking at in this space that we have to compete with are solely looking at physical security infrastructure. What we look at is climate culture, policies, procedures, behavioral threat assessments or behaviors that would indicate that someone is susceptible to carrying out an attack. Outbursts, which we saw tonight. And I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. I'm just saying these are things that can turn very volatile in a matter of seconds. Social media, how are those things being directed towards you as elected officials or towards families here that are very involved and ingrained in this community? So when we do our assessments, we're looking at it through many, many different lenses. And what I will tell you is that I can sell you a $10 million system, but it does nothing if you don't have buy-in from your community, you don't have a positive culture and climate, and you don't have people that are willing to do the right thing. And so what this is going to take to make Nassau Bay safe is buy-in from your stakeholders and everybody doing their part, and we'll do the rest. So any questions for us?
I think it'll be probably
my only question here is, Brent, would you mind giving a bit of your experience? I think it's important, your background too. Beyond the Secret Service that we have here, I think your background is quite important to highlight.
Again, my name is Brent Cooley. I did 20 years of active service with the Galveston County Sheriff's Office. I left there as the rank of lieutenant over the school liaison division. Prior to that, I was a patrol sergeant for a long time. I've known the chief for a long time. My experience comes from active shooters. I was involved in the Santa Fe shooting, led the arrest team, and actually made the arrest of the shooter. So my expertise is on the job training and everything I learned from that day and the aftermath since. We as a nation are woefully woefully inadequate when it comes to not only school safety, but workplace violence and everything else that seems to be popping up. So my passion now is that, you know, Mike and I started working together at the school district of Tech City when he was the director of school safety and security, and our visions are pretty much parallel. And, you know, I decided to go full time and do this work. We appreciate all of you for having us. I look forward to answering any questions that you have based on our assessment. But thank you again.
And thank you for waiting so long. Appreciate it.
With that, I want to take us into executive session specifically for two items, which is the M6 global offense pursuant to the Texas Government Code, section 551.076, security devices for audits, and 10B, which is evaluation duties objected to the city manager pursuant to the Texas Government Code, section 551.074. It is 10:32. Are we going to close? Yeah. Are we going to I would really prefer us to go back there. Yeah, I like that. So.